Deep inside the clouds, the battle between the soul altar experts of the human race and the ghoul races triggered many spatial tremors and storms. Meteors penetrated the firmament, and dazzling explosions looked like stars as they lit the world. Be it the human race or the three ghoul races, the peak experts made sure that their battlefield was limited to the sky and the sky alone. They knew very well that a battle at their level would wreak disastrous levels of havoc if they were to fight on the ground. No one could participate in their level of battle unless they were of the same cultivation. Not even Nirvana realm experts were qualified to participate. This was a true battle of the pinnacles. Under the sky, the battle of martial practitioners beneath imperishable realm was cut short before it could escalate. The outsider races were retreating back to Prism Continent. Charge into the heart of their base. War cries were raised by the men of the 5 great silver rank forces as dozens of Nirvana and Fragmentation realm experts surrounded Xianxia like typhoons and flew towards Prism Continent alongside him. Right now Xianxia had temporarily withdrawn the 8 slabs of Thunderblitz wood to preserve his strength. Just focus on recovering and ignore everything else, Xianxia said softly. Xianxia was sitting atop her golden-winged Luan. The top speed of a rank 6 golden-winged Luan surpassed the top speed of every crystalline war chariot in Xianxia's possession. In order to make his way faster to the outsider's gathering grounds and to avoid losing his concentration, Xianxia didn't turn down Shun Yu's invitation and chose to ride on her golden-winged Luan. He took out pieces of dried spirit beast meat from his spatial ring, chewing and devouring them piece by piece. The jerky strips were made out of rank 5 or 6 spirit beasts. They contained a tremendous amount of refined flesh and blood energy, and they were extremely useful to recovery of one's stamina and bloodline power. At the same time, Xianxia was also clutching many spirit stones of great purity with his other hand and absorbing the spirit energy inside it. Both his physical body and spirit sea had used up a lot of energy during the battle earlier. He activated his bloodline and the blaze imprints, causing all the experts of the 3 great ghoul races who were branded in the past to be flooded by terrifying flames and burned to ashes before they could do anything. Every one of these enemies were at least at the late stage of the fragmentation realm. Most of the martial practitioners who were branded by the Blaze family were of incredible cultivation. Branded late-stage Nirvana realm martial practitioners could be found wherever he looked. The Blaze imprint had dealt a severe blow to the 3 great ghoul races' forces and eliminated their strongest experts in the very beginning of the fight. Of course, the price of activating his bloodline power was his body's physical strength. Later on, he manipulated the 8 Thunderblitz with slabs and drew a compound spirit diagram with lightning itself. He conjured the profound Thunderheart and killed many enemy martial practitioners continuously at the cost of his spirit energy and soul energy. That was why he needed to do his best to recover his spirit energy, soul energy, and physical strength in the shortest time possible. It was the only way for him to continue his miraculous feats and deal a destructive blow to the outsider races. He focused all of his concentration on recovering his powers. Take this Soul Cloud Saint Spirit pill and do your best to recover as soon as possible. We need you. Suddenly, celestial artifact sex by you passed over a pill to him. Xianxia opened his eyes. The pill glowing with jade-like luster was about as big as a dragon eye fruit. A small cloud floated above the pill and emanated with a refined aura of souls. The amount of refined soul energy in this pill actually felt bigger than 10 soul crystals combined. When he sniffed the small cloud floating above the pill, his soul lake felt cleansed and his soul felt improved. Celestial artifact sect truly is rich and generous. Shunyu couldn't help but let out a praise when she saw the pill. When she saw that Xianxia was still blanking out, she grabbed the pill from Baiyu's hands without hesitation. Showing no regard for the common courtesies between men and women, she stuffed the pill directly into Xianxia's mouth beneath Baiyu's astonished gaze. Both your hands are occupied, aren't they? I'm just helping you by doing what little I can do. Xinyu smiled softly. Before Xianxia could react, the fragrant-smelling pill was stuffed into his mouth. Even better, Xunyu's delicate finger touched his lips once lightly. He was surprised. Xinyu could have avoided the contact if she paid a little more attention, but she hadn't done so. In fact, he felt that Xinyu had done it on purpose. Right now, countless martial practitioners were looking at him. Therefore, not even the tiniest movement of Xianyu's had escaped their eyes. The thousands of Heavenly Sword Mountain, Illusory Demon Sect, Celestial Artifact Sect, 10,000 Beast Mountain, and Terminator Sect martial practitioners were all staring at him and Xianyu in shock. They all saw the close contact between Xianyu's fingertip and his lips. Everyone's eyes sparkled like they had discovered a new continent and fell into deep thought. There are countless flying spirit artifacts and spirit birds around him, but Xianyu's golden-winged Luan was the one he chose to sit on. Moreover, Xianyu had just made intimate contact with Qinlai without caring for common courtesies at all. What does this mean? This means that their relationship is deeper than normal. It would appear that they are a pair of lovers. So he and Xianyu share a relationship like this. In that case, it's no wonder Terminator Sect regarded this kid so highly. Xianyu is Shen Kuei's granddaughter, and Shen Kuei is a martial practitioner whom even Nan Zhengtian and Lei Yan greatly respected, even if it is just for Shen Kuei's sake. Nan Zhengtian had no reason not to protect him with all he got. So this is why Nan Zhengtian demanded Black Voodoo Cult to not harm Qinlai. A lot of people wore a look of realization on their faces. God damn it. This bastard acts as swift as lightning. Why the heck did he come to me to ask about Senior Sister Shin's private life when they're this close with each other already? Does he have a screw loose in his head? Du Xiangyang complained on the inside. A hint of bitterness hung at the corners of Luo Chen's mouth. There were plenty of Terminator Sect, Heavenly Sword Mountain, Celestial Artifact Sect, and even 10,000 Beast Mountain young men who admired Xianyu. Therefore, these people were both envious and jealous of Qinlai right now. They were feeling all kinds of emotions. Senior Sister Shui, did I mistake your relationship with Qinlai? Or, do you and Xianyu serve the same husband? Zhu Ruijie and Shui Moyan were not far away from each other. After moving her gaze away from Xianyu and Qinlai, she looked disdainfully at Shui Moyan and did her best to ridicule her. Regardless, it would seem that you have failed terribly. If you and Qinlai share no ties with each other, then I can only say that you are a blind fool. I may dislike the guy, but the fact that he could cause such a huge commotion in the land of chaos proved just how capable he really is. If I were you, I would have held him tight and won his heart over back at the graveyard of gods. I would have made sure that his heart is filled only with my image. If you are as clever as I am and did so, then you may ignore what I said earlier. But this also begs another question. How did he get together with Xianyu? Is your control over your man really this pathetic? How can you be so careless as to allow Xianyu to get so close to him? You should be doing what Xianyu is doing right now. She's robbing you of your man right before everyone's eyes. How can you stand this? Heh. If I were you, I have to admit, there would be no way for me to tolerate this. Shui Moyan's eyes were dim as she said softly with a lowered head, "There's nothing between us. Then you are an even greater failure than I expected." Zhu Ruijie sneered. "I've asked about you too, and I know that he's the one who extended your life back at the graveyard of gods, saved your father and helped awaken your mother from her deep slumber. He even brought back the blood progenitor's body to your father, helped Blood Fiend Sect establish themselves on the Setting Sun Islands, and helped in your fight against the Black Voodoo Cult and the Three Great Families. I don't know what else he had helped you with. The point is that he gave you plenty aid and played roles of incalculable significance in many cases. If you cannot bind someone who contributed so much to you and the Blood Fiend Sect by emotions, then what else can you offer to influence him into continue helping Blood Fiend Sect in the future? Forgive my directness, but what other qualities do you possess that could attract him other than your slightly pretty looks? You no longer possess the dazzling status or identity of illusory demon sect successor. Your current status is far inferior to Xianyu's in this regard. I admit that you possess incredible talent, and that you are in no way inferior to Xianyu in this regard. However, Xianyu has incredible management skills which you don't possess. The greatest mistake you made was to let him slip through your fingers when you had the chance back at the graveyard of gods. It may be impossible to rectify that mistake now. Zhu Ruijie's analysis made Shui Moyan look a little uncomfortable. Even her eyes looked a little dull. She subconsciously looked at Xunyu some distance away from her and noticed the trace of redness coloring both sides of her cheeks. The emotion of jealousy suddenly sprang into her heart. At the same time, Xunyu suddenly turned around to look at her as if she had noticed Xue Moyan's gaze. Xunyu's eyes lit up aggressively, and the corners of her lips curled slightly upwards. She seemed to be taunting Xue Moyan soundlessly. Xue Moyan's face stiffened. Xunyu let out a soft laugh and withdrew her gaze proudly. She didn't continue looking at Xue Moyan any longer. Everyone, please share with us some high-quality pills if possible, so that Qinlai can recover as soon as possible, Xunyu said seriously to the experts around her. I have a yin-yang calibration pill here. I have a 7 apertures mind-nurturing pill. Here's a nature pill. Terminator Sect, Heavenly Sword Mountain, 10,000 Beast Mountain, and Celestial Artifact Sect martial practitioners passed over the pills with slightly pained looks on their faces. Don't move. Allow me to take them for you. Xunyu went over and accepted the offered pills kindly. She then stood fearlessly beside Qinlai. Notify me when the pills you've consumed are fully refined. I'll give you a new pill when you're done, she said gently. As of that moment, the Soul Cloud Saint Spirit pill he just swallowed was releasing a tremendous amount of refined soul energy throughout his body. He couldn't talk to Xunyu because he was doing his best to digest it. In everyone else's eyes, however, Qinlai was submitting judgment to Xunyu completely and allowing her to deal with the trifle matters. This made them feel even more certain that Xunyu and him shared a close relationship with each other. How unfortunate. If Xunyu hasn't gotten to him first, I would have introduced my disciple to him. Xunyu sure acts quickly. I wanted to see if he fancies my daughter too, but, alas, I guess that's no longer possible. We, Heavenly Sword Mountain, have a good lass too. Beside Qinlai, the Nirvana Realm experts who just passed over their pills to Xunyu shook their heads and muttered regretfully to themselves. Qinlai's name was destined to spread throughout the land of chaos and turn him into the most sought-after person after this battle. Judging from today's battle, Qinlai would likely become one of the greatest person on the land of chaos in the near future. An engagement would have been the perfect alternative to tie down a free agent who listened to no sect like Qinlai. That was what they all thought. If only Xunyu hadn't gotten ahead of them. Qinlai ignored all external distractions and completely focused on recovering himself. The effects of the Soul Cloud Saint Spirit pill was extremely strong. After the pill had melted in his stomach, a stream of rich, refined soul energy scattered into millions of tiny tendrils that entered his mind through his blood vessels. The soul energy gathered in his soul lake upon entering his mind. The soul lake that had shrunk 1/3 of its original size were regrowing at a visible rate thanks to the injection of millions of soul tendrils. The feeling where his soul energy was so full it was about to overflow slowly surfaced to his mind. It soothed his true soul, and the process felt like his soul and mind were being washed by a fountain of ambrosia. Even his soul lake felt incredibly cleaned. It felt as if his true soul was being sublimed to a higher level. There was another rich stream of spirit energy that spread down to his stomach and surged into his Dantian spirit sea. The wisps of milky white spirit clouds condensed inside his Dantian spirit sea and replenished his depleted spirit energy swiftly. Not only could the Soul Cloud Saint Spirit pill recover one's soul energy swiftly, it could fill up one's spirit sea with spirit energy too. It was a pill that regenerated both soul energy and spirit energy. At his current realm, it would appear that a Soul Cloud Saint Spirit pill is more than enough to restore him to full. Not far away, Celestial Artifact Sex Bayou narrowed his eyes slightly with an odd expression on his face. He was the one who gifted the Soul Cloud Saint Spirit pill to Qinlai, so he knew better than anyone just how precious the pill was. It was also how he knew with 100% certainty that a single Soul Cloud Saint Spirit pill was enough to restore Qinlai's soul energy and spirit energy to full. This also meant that Qinlai didn't need more pills to restore his soul energy or spirit energy. He refused to believe that Xunyu wasn't privy to the value of a Soul Cloud Saint Spirit pill. In his opinion, Xunyu's act to request pills from other martial practitioners was overstepping the line a little. It is enough for now, of course, Xunyu smiled. However, this war against the outsider race may last for a very long time. It may end in just 10 days' time, but it may also drag out for a whole year. Qianlai is capable of dealing the outsiders a destructive blow, so the outsiders will suffer as long as he remains energetic and lively. That's why there's no harm in hoarding as many pills as possible ahead of time. They will all be used eventually. Bai Yu thought that Xin Yu's words made sense after thinking for a moment. Therefore, he stopped questioning further into her actions. The martial practitioners continued to advance towards the center of Prism Continent while protecting Qianlai. 15 minutes later, while the group was passing by Moonstone City, Qianlai abruptly cut his recovery short and opened his eyes. Dozens of fierce blazes and innumerable unknown divine characters sprung out from inside his pupils. What's going on? Xin Yu was the closest to Qianlai, so she was the first one to notice his strange reaction. Over there. Qianlai pointed at a stone tower at the southeastern corner of Moonstone City. Follow me. Bai Yu charged towards it. Another Nirvana Realm martial practitioner who was followed closely by 2 Fragmentation Realm martial practitioners charged towards that direction as well. Burn! Qianlai pressed his tongue against the upper part of his mouth and verbalized an unknown divine character in a strange note. The blood inside his body boiled as the blazed divine character glowed with extraordinary strength. The divine characters inside his blood swam in an unfathomable, worldly pattern, as if they were planets orbiting within a sea of stars. This was the wondrous interconnection that existed within the power of bloodlines. Yua! The painful cry and the burning figure of an evil ghoul appeared from under the stone tower Bai Yu was charging to. It was an Earth Ghoul clansman who was currently engulfed in flames. Kill him! Strangeness occurred in Moonstone City once more. The grand stone palaces of the ruined Moonstone City instantly shattered into smithereens. Giant rocks and stone pillars were turned into deadly projectiles and shot towards their direction. Crack! The ground fissured and revealed many dark cracks as the Earth Ghoul clansmen hiding deep underground burst into the open. The gravity around the area abruptly increased by hundreds of times. The crystalline war chariots, the Fragmentation Realm martial practitioners flying in the sky, the spirit birds and the giant carriages abruptly plummeted towards the ground because they were unable to adapt to the sudden increase of gravity immediately. The explosions of flying spirit artifacts illuminated the whole area. Plenty of Nether Passage Realm martial practitioners or martial practitioners who weren't protected by spirit artifacts who were attacked by frenzied groups of Earth Ghoul clansmen the moment they plummeted to the ground. Dozens of unrecognizable human corpses instantly appeared on the floor. Hundreds of Earth Ghoul clansmen swarmed these corpses in an instant, tearing and devouring them like wild animals. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Brown-yellow-colored storms mixed with stone fragments. Wood. The carcasses of spirit beasts and blood suddenly appeared from every part of Moonstone City. Heaven Ghoul clansmen were unleashing their spatial power and drawing many spatial blades amidst the storm. Blue Ghoul clansmen were clutching chain bracelets, necklaces, and bone staffs made of animal bones and dancing madly. Gray-colored evil energy gathered from every direction and tore at the humans like meat grinders. In an instant, dozens or so humans were enveloped by the terrible power of those storms, cut into pieces by the spatial blades, or penetrated by the evil energy again. Even more Earth Ghoul clansmen burst out from underground and charged towards them suicidally while still chewing on human flesh and bones, looking like real ghouls that had emerged from the abyss. The human martial practitioners fell into panic disorder. This place's gravity field was altered by the enemy. Qianlai turned pale. He couldn't use the 8 Thunderblitz trees because the gravity of this place had been increased several hundred times than normal. This also meant that he couldn't inscribe another spirit diagram and reactivate the destructive profound thunder heart. Even worse was that the golden-winged Luan he and Xin Yu was on was also falling heavily towards the ground. Innumerable amount of Heaven Ghoul, Earth Ghoul, and Blue Ghoul clansmen were waiting beneath them. Countless pairs of dark, violent and evil eyes were staring at him closely. It was obvious that the anomaly in Moonstone City was a devious trap specifically prepared by the foreign for him. The Earth Ghoul clansman's alterations to gravity so that it was hundreds of times stronger than normal made it impossible for him to use the 8 Thunderblitz trees. The Blue Ghoul clansmen who were good at hiding slipped deep underground with the Earth Ghoul clansmen aid and avoided the human martial practitioner's soul scan through a secret art. After the human martial practitioners had come to them, they emerged without warning and ambushed their enemies. They instantly turned the situation on its head. In just a short time, almost 100 human martial practitioners were caught off guard and killed. After their corpses had fallen to the ground, they were torn and devoured by the outsiders, leaving not a single corpse behind. The scene was incredibly bloody and violent. Many of the young human martial practitioners had never experienced a fight like this. When they saw that the companions and senior brothers and sisters that they were just talking to a moment ago turning into fleshy bits inside the outsider's mouth, when they saw the way blood splattered from the outsider's mouth with every chewing motion, they almost broke down there and then. The crumbling of their minds caused their combat strength to fall far below normal. Since they weren't able to pay attention to the battle, they naturally weren't able to unleash their full strength. The human race's morale was currently low. Eat this! While the golden-winged Luan was falling swiftly towards the ground, Xianxia's spatial rings sparkled as several profound bombs winked into existence. With him as the center, the scarlet metal balls flew towards the places where the outsiders were densely packed like fire beams. Explode! In an instant, terrific explosions appeared from the spots where the outsiders were entrenched. Thunder erupted while lightning swam like living dragons. Wildfire instantly engulfed Moonstone City in a sea of flames. Blaze profound bombs could be amplified. When two blaze profound bombs were to clash against one another, their destructive strength could be multiplied by several folds. The impact caused by the simultaneous explosions of multiple blaze profound bombs instantly caused a group of dozens or so Earth Ghoul clansmen to scatter into bloody rains. The Terminator profound bombs. Shun Yu reacted. The martial practitioners of Terminator sect looked incredibly invigorated. They began throwing silver metallic balls towards the outsiders and into the storms. For a time, every corner of Moonstone City resounded with devastating booms of destruction. The Blaze Profound Bombs and Terminator Profound Bombs were incredible weapons that could turn a battle on its head and deal unbelievable amounts of damage to the enemy in a short time. The three great ghoul race's clansmen had obviously failed to react in time. Many of them were crushed and killed in the explosions. Using the opening created by the bombs, a dozen or so Nirvana Realm martial practitioners who were well versed in the power of gravity combined their strength and unleashed them. Crack, crack, crack. The exterior of Moonstone City rippled like a tidal wave or a carpet flapping to the wind. Many palaces crumbled and was destroyed. The powerful gravity fields deep beneath the fissured ground and the geocentric formations the Earth Ghoul clansmen had set up there became ineffective as the ground rippled. The gravity field that made everything several hundred times heavier than normal was gradually fading. Retreat for now. A tiny Earth Ghoul clansman howled eerily when they saw that the situation had taken a turn for the worse. Many dark underground holes magically appeared under the effects of the Earth Ghoul race's energy. Many Blue Ghoul and Heaven Ghoul clansmen plunged head first into those dark holes and instantly disappeared. Many Earth Ghoul clansmen were able to merge into the ground like fish in water the second they set foot on the ground surface. To them, the dark and lightless underground was almost like home. They were capable of moving freely underground. This was their unique racial talent. The human martial practitioners who just turned the tides a little and was about to counter-attack the outsiders suddenly discovered that their figures and auras had all disappeared. By now Moonstone City was riddled in holes and completely ruined. Pools of blood could be found everywhere, but not one of the deceased could be found at all. Both the humans and outsider races who had died in the battle were taken away by the Earth Ghoul clansmen into the underground. They would bury their clansmen, but the humans, they would eat them. The gravity field of this place suddenly turned back to normal. They already left. A celestial artifact sect martial practitioner who reached the late stage of Nirvana Realm sighed helplessly while staring at the ground with a dark expression. Illusory demon sex Xianxia was frowning deeply before she stared at Xianxia. That burning outsider was bait. Everyone came to realization when they heard this. Xianxia could detect some special outsiders and burn them to death through a secret art that they had no understanding of. The outsiders also knew this. That was why they had set up a trap, altered the gravity, and left behind a special outsider to bait them into this place. As expected, the group had noticed that outsider's existence from the anomaly in his bloodline and exposed him while they were passing through this place. This caused them to pause above Moonstone City, and by you charging out on his own accord to hunt down that outsider. After that, they were ambushed by the enemy and forced to pay a terrible price. More than 100 human martial practitioners died without a body to show. He is largely responsible for the damage we suffer. Shi Xiuling accused Qin Lai. 50 of the people who died horribly in this battle were her disciples and subordinates. This was because the illusory demon sect had a lot of female martial practitioners, and these foreign races found the flesh of young human females tastier than human males. That was why they spent more energy on taking down illusory demon sect martial practitioners when they ambushed them earlier, causing them to suffer the heaviest casualties. Shi Xiuling didn't know this. She assumed that Qin Lai harbored malicious intentions and purposely caused the deaths of many illusory demon sect's disciples. Although she could offer no reason, evidence, or method to support her theory. That was what she thought all the same. Otherwise, why on earth was the number of casualties they suffered half of the total number of people who died out of all 5 great silver rank forces? Shi Xiuling waved her hand. The members of illusory demon sect who had been scattered around Moonstone City gathered around her. Qin Lai frowned. There were more than 300 members of illusory demon sect, all of them in Nether Passage, Fulfillment, Fragmentation, and Nirvana realm. This faction was not weak. At this time, all of these members had hostile expressions. We, illusory demon sect, decide to leave the campaign against the other races. Shi Xiuling said coldly. Why? 10,000 Beast Mountain's elder, Tu Mao, asked gravely. The other people from Terminator Sect, Heavenly Sword Mountain, and Celestial Artifact Sect frowned, as well as they looked with dark expressions at Illusory Demon Sect. Qin Lai is purposefully directed against Illusory Demon Sect, Zhu Ruijie said coldly. Against Illusory Demon Sect? Celestial Artifact Sect's Luo Curson had a pleased smile on her face. Who doesn't know how close the Setting Sun Islands and Illusory Demon Sect are? Everyone knows of the great friendship between Elder Mo of Blood Fiend Sect and your sect master Yu. When did Setting Sun Islands and Illusory Demon Sect end on opposite sides? Things are really difficult to predict. Du Xiangyang sighed. So strange. Tian Yu shook her head. Bai Yu also frowned deeply. The 4 other silver forces had always thought that Setting Sun Island and Illusory Demon Sect were close-knit and the most reliable allies for each other. Yet the recent string of events showed that there was a great divide between the Setting Sun Islands and Illusory Demon Sect. This puzzled them. What conflict occurred between the two? Many people thought inwardly. One mountain cannot hold 2 tigers. Xin Yu sighed softly. Many people realized after hearing her sigh and thinking carefully. So that is how it is. You men nodded in understanding. Illusory Demon Sect is too small-minded. He, an artificer of Celestial Artifact Sect, snorted coldly and said, Ah, how generous do you think a force made out of women can be? Du Xiangyang laughed scornfully. Whatever you say, Illusory Demon Sect will retreat out of Prism Continent. We do not want to become cannon fodder and become food for the foreign races. Shi Xiuling said coldly. Let's go, Zhu Ruijie said. The remaining 300 members of Illusory Demon Sect got back on their flying spirit artifacts, gathered together, and were about to go back where they came from. At this time, everyone looked towards Qin Lai. They wanted to know what he thought. Qin Lai did not express any opinion. From beginning to end, he did not explain one word. He didn't think there was a need. He did not try to keep them, and didn't allow Shi Xiuling's words to affect his mentality. In truth, he was holding spirit beast meat in one hand and bright spirit stones in the other, as he narrowed his eyes and recovered his strength on top of the golden-winged Luan. He didn't even blink an eye. Aren't you going to say something? Xin Yu was shocked. Shaking his head, he remained silent and decided to disregard the women from Illusory Demon Sect. We are right. You don't even dare to argue. Zhu Ruijie smiled coldly. After the other races are eliminated, Illusory demon sect will go to the setting sun islands to get justice for today. Shi Xiuling's expression was dark. She gave the order and the members of Illusory demon sect who had gathered finally left. Among the crowd, the martial practitioners from Heavenly Sword Mountain, Celestial Artifact Sect, 10,000 Beast Mountain, and Terminator Sect frowned slightly but did not speak. They did not change anything because of Illusory demon sect's departure. In their eyes, Illusory demon sect was throwing an unreasonable tantrum. Maybe Qin Lai was a part of the reason the outsiders had hid in Moonstone City and then suddenly made an ambush. But at the important moment, Qin Lai had been the one to throw out the greatest number of Blaze Profound Bombs to awaken Terminator Sect, so they would throw out the Terminator Profound Bombs and kill the crowds of other races. Objectively speaking, the humans had not suffered great losses in this battle. More than 100 of the other races had died. For the martial practitioners of the 4 Silver Forces, as long as the fatalities and wounds on both sides were about the same, they thought that it was worth it. Humans were great in number, and so were martial practitioners. Also, humans were a race famed for their reproduction. They had countless fulfillment and fragmentation realm martial practitioners in the land of chaos. The 100 or so people that died were nothing to the land of chaos, so small they could not be counted. This was not true for the outsiders. The heaven ghouls, blue ghouls, and earth ghouls were far too few in comparison to the human race. They did not have a way to make up for their losses. If it was 1-for-1, not long in the future the foreign races would die out. The human race would not die in this. What do you say now? After a while, Qin Lai lifted his head and looked at the crowd with a serene expression. Choose to believe me. Continue to charge into Prism Continent, or stop now and retreat? Of course we will go in. Definitely believe in you. We are not those irrational women. We cannot participate in the battle in the skies. But we must win the battle on the ground. Continue. The fragmentation and nirvana martial practitioners of the 4 remaining silver forces expressed their opinions. All right, then let's continue, Qin Lai shouted. Shun Yu softly patted the golden-winged Luan. The rank 6 spirit bird immediately flew into the air and carried her and Qin Lai towards the depths of the continent. The spirit artifacts rose back into the sky. East of the heavenly slaughter continent, there were many vast palaces on the endless plains that formed cities. An enormous lizard-like ancient beast broke apart the gray clouds and suddenly appeared above those cities. In the next instant, blue ghouls controlling bone-like spirit artifacts flew down off the ancient beast. The blue ghoul clansmen immediately started to kill human martial practitioners and massacre the cities below. Those cities belonged to the strongest copper force under Illusory demon sect Skyflame. Copper forces rarely had Nirvana realm martial practitioners. Even Skyflame had just 5 Nirvana martial practitioners. Yet the leader of these blue ghoul clansmen was an imperishable realm ghoul sitting on top of a 1-level soul altar. Evil race invasion. Immediately call Illusory demon sect and ask them to send an imperishable expert. Screams rang out of the cities. The Nirvana realm martial practitioners of Skyflame contacted Illusory demon sect at their fastest possible speed. Almost at the same time, on the heavenly calamity continent controlled by the 3 families. Black Jade City in Raised Desert. On this moonless night, deep under Black Jade City, shadows flowed like evil ghosts. Suddenly, shaking vibrations came from below Black Jade City. Bottomless canals tore apart the ground of Black Jade City like cracks in glass. An icy, cold and evil aura surged out of the ground. The Earth Ghoul race charged out during the night. Evil race invasion. Damn it! The evil races have come. Evil ghouls have come. Wails and cries came from every corner of Black Jade City. Many members of the Xiahou family and the martial practitioners under their command were not able to react and were killed by the other races that came out of the ground in the middle of their cultivation. At the same time, Blue Flame City and Scattered Rain City were invaded by the Earth Ghoul race at the same time. The Earth Ghoul race that could hide under the ground coincidentally landed on the heavenly calamity continent. Numerous soul altar experts of the Earth Ghoul race took a portion of their race to help the Heaven Ghoul race at Prism Continent, But there were many members under the leadership of the strongest of their clan that communicated with their fellows on Prism Continent and chose to attack the Heavenly Calamity Continent. The strongest of the three families, their patriarchs, were coincidentally not present. At this time, the three family patriarchs were discussing matters with Xianxia at Black Voodoo Cult. The powerful invasion of the Earth Ghoul race caused the death of many members of the three families in Black Jade City, Blue Flame City, and Scattered Rain City. When the three patriarchs received the news, they immediately hurried over from Black Voodoo Cult. Experts from Black Voodoo Cult also arrived at the Heavenly Calamity Continent with the three families through a large-scale teleportation formation. On the same day, the Land of Chaos divided into three battlefields. The five forces at Prism Continent, Illusory Demon Sect at the Heavenly Slaughter Continent, and the three families of the Heavenly Calamity Continent. None of the 9 silver forces could stay out of this. Even Black Voodoo Cult, who had wanted to stand by and benefit, were forced to send experts to the Heavenly Calamity Continent and was pulled in. The flames of the racial war was ignited from 3 points and burned stronger and hotter, spreading to more areas. This was a calamity that was worse than the invasion of the Azura race. Riding on a golden-winged Luan, Qianlai descended on a sandhill situated at a hot desert. This was Jewel Flame Manor's territory. It was noon, and the sunlight shining down from above the sky made the place incredibly hot and stifling. Yellow sand hills that were several hundred meters tall were scattered at various different places. This damnable place is even hotter than it was before. Chu Li wiped the sweat on his forehead and swore involuntarily. Please tell everyone to come over for a moment, Qianlai said. Who's everyone? Shen Yu asked in surprise. Qianlai cast a glance at the people who had gathered around him on their own accord. Shen Yu lowered her voice after being startled for a moment. What are you trying to say? It's best to keep your special bloodline in wraps. It will draw a lot of trouble otherwise. She could sense an unusual tremor of energy and blood energy inside Qianlai, and from that guess what Qianlai was trying to do. She couldn't help but remind him of the consequences. I will say that it is all the demon sealing tombstone's work. Qianlai had an answer to this since a long time ago. I need a logical reason to explain why I can detect the foreign race and cause them to self-combust anyway. This is the best way to keep their imagination from running wild. Shen Yu's eyes glittered as she mulled over Qianlai's words seriously. A while later, she nodded slightly. You are right. You do need a reason. She knew that the thousands of Nether Passage, Fulfillment, Fragmentation, and Nirvana Realm martial practitioners of 4 great silver forces, Terminator Sect, Heavenly Sword Mountain, 10,000 Beast Mountain, and Celestial Artifact Sect, had to be puzzling over Qianlai's secrets. Why could he cause some outsiders to self-combust? Why could he detect their movements so accurately? He had to give a logical explanation eventually. Therefore, the demon-sealing tombstone was a great excuse. Should I tell them to come over now? No, wait. Give me another 30 seconds. Oh! The demon-sealing tombstone appeared and stood vertically on a piece of sandstone. A lifeblood essence that looked as translucent as blood diamonds appeared from the cut skin at Qianlai's fingertip. Shen Yu stared deeply at the blood essence as excitement and anticipation rose silently from behind her pupils. Just when Qianlai was about to drip that lifeblood essence onto the tombstone's surface, he noticed her passionate gaze and was startled by it. He paused his movements and asked, How did you know about my bloodline? Uncle Su Ran told me about it. Shen Yu answered carelessly. Qianlai frowned again and asked, He urged me repeatedly that day not to expose my bloodline to anyone. So why would he tell you this voluntarily? I'm a little special. Shen Yu turned red. Oh! Qianlai's eyes were filled with the desire to know. I'll tell you someday. I'll tell you the reason when you've agreed to my request and when we've gotten together, Shen Yu said in slightly embarrassment. Qianlai was finding the situation more and more queer. He didn't push Shen Yu further, seeing that she didn't wish to explain things. He focused his mind once more and dripped the lifeblood essence onto the demon-sealing tombstone. It's done. I'll call them right away. When Shen Yu left, her well-rounded figure seemed a little hasty and panicky. Bastard. He just won't let it go. And why is he so sensitive? She cursed inwardly. What? Qin Lai is summoning us over. What's going on? We'll know once we head over. Before long, Baiyu, He, Tumao, 10 unfamiliar fragmentation and Nirvana realm martial practitioners, and special juniors such as Luo Chen, Du Xiangyang, Xuemoyan, Tian Yu, and Luo Kursen had rushed over from the surroundings and gathered beside Qin Lai. The demon sealing tombstone. Feng Iyo and Yumen exclaimed the moment they saw the object. Naturally, they all noticed the demon sealing tombstone. The older generation martial practitioners such as He Yi and Baiyu instantly had their attention drawn towards the demon sealing tombstone. Right now, an image was appearing clearly above the blank tombstone. Inside the image, many foreign clansmen were gathered at one place while engaged in what seemed like a discussion. They just couldn't hear what they were actually talking about. "This is," He Yi exclaimed in admiration. "This is a scene from the enemy's closest gathering spot. They are currently discussing on how to fight us. You cannot hear their voices, but I can," Qin Lai said calmly. In reality, he could broadcast their voices from the demon-sealing tombstone if he wanted to. However, the great ghoul race's clansmen were currently discussing about his bloodline and how best to eliminate the remnant of the Blaze family. He didn't want anyone to know about his bloodline, so of course he kept the sounds muffled and didn't present the full details of the discussion. "I obtained this demon-sealing tombstone from inside a god corpse. It appears to be the key to the Graveyard of Gods, and the Graveyard of Gods is related to the heaven-fighting race. Right now, a total of 3 races are invading the land of chaos. They are all part of the 3 great ghoul races, and they are called the Heaven Ghoul race, the Blue Ghoul race, and the Earth Ghoul race. The 3 great ghoul races once ruled Spirit Realm alongside other powerful races such as the Giant Dragons, Ancient Beasts, Dark Nether race, and so on. However, the heaven-fighting race came and attempted to commit genocide, so they were forced to depart from Spirit Realm. When they left Spirit Realm, they were branded with a permanent mark by the heaven-fighting race experts. These marks contain a terrifying amount of energy and willpower that couldn't be eliminated even though they had been corroding their bodies for over tens of thousand years. This remains true even though 30,000 years have passed since their return to Spirit Realm. Through the demon-sealing tombstone, I am able to detect the imprints inside their bodies and activate them at will," Qin Lai explained with a serious look on his face. Most of what he said was true, and he concealed only the matter of his bloodline. All the experts who had came over to listen to him were absolutely stunned by the revelation. They listened closely, afraid that they would miss out on a single sentence. Everyone's doubts were solved when he was done explaining. Plus, it was true that the demon-sealing tombstone played a major role in detecting the outsiders and burning them to death. "Where are they right now?" he asked. The crowd's attention returned back to the demon-sealing tombstone. Right now, a dozen or so 3 ghoul races clansmen were gathered in a dark underground palace. Judging from the palace's structure, it was probably a building beneath a graveyard somewhere. "This place is the Absolute In Graveyard 8,000 kilometers away from us." Chu Li frowned. Everyone was looking at him in astonishment when he said this. "I know that place from when I ventured across Prism Continent a long time ago. The Absolute In Graveyard is eternally enshrouded in dark and icy aura, and this aura is so strong that it stopped even sunlight from penetrating it," Chu Li explained. "It is said that this Absolute In Graveyard is a place where moon-worshipping cult used to bury their dead." Moon-worshipping cult? Everyone's faces turned a little unnatural at this. Moon-worshipping cult used to be a powerful silver rank force on the land of chaos. At its peak, it was even stronger than the current Terminator sect. Later on, moon-worshipping cult gradually declined due to an unknown reason. That was why Terminator sect was able to replace them to become the new greatest power on the Heavenly Silence continent. Every older generation martial practitioner had heard of the infamous moon-worshipping cult before. They were both fearful and respectful of this evil cult. This remained true even though moon-worshipping cult was gone since a long time ago. "There's nothing there. I once explored the place but found only many graves and some bones and corpses inside them," Chu Li said uncaringly. "He's right. There are 1,000 or so clansmen of the 3 great ghoul races that are gathered at the Absolute In Graveyard right now. Excluding the spatial rifts at the center of Prism Continent, It has the second greatest concentration of ghoul clansmen and is the closest place to our current location. Qin Lai said affirmatively. Are they trying to lay an ambush at the Absolute in graveyard and attack us further? Luo Kursen asked. They're still in discussion. Please wait while I listen in on them for a while longer. Qin Lai narrowed his eyes. Everyone fell silent and kept their mouths shut upon hearing this. They were all staring at the scene happening above the demon-sealing tombstone. However, the scene eventually turned blurry until it faded away completely. Just as they grew anxious and was going to inquire deeper into the matter, they noticed that Qin Lai's complexion looked odd. What's wrong? Even Shin Yu couldn't help but ask. What did they say? Du Xiangyang asked anxiously. The demon-sealing tombstone can only spy on them for a fixed period of time. It can only be used again after a period of cooldown. He put away the demon-sealing tombstone first before pondering for a moment. Finally, he spoke again. We are not the only ones they'd engaged. Everyone subconsciously trembled and turned pale when they heard this. You mean? He's lips shuddered slightly. Qin Lai nodded. The Earth Ghoul race and Blue Ghoul race are currently committing slaughter at 2 other places. Which 2 places? Luo Kursen screamed. Anxiety peaked in everyone's hearts. The cities of Skyflame, the copper rank force situated at a corner of the Heavenly Slaughter continent, is currently under attack by Blue Ghoul clansmen who descended from the sky. Moreover, Raised Desert, Black Jade City, Scattered Rain City, and Blue Flame City at the Heavenly Calamity continent were ambushed by the Earth Ghoul race. These forces suffered huge casualties and are in war right now, Qin Lai said as he looked at everyone. Surprisingly, Tu Mao, Luo Kursen, Luo Chun and every other martial practitioner present in the area let out long sighs of relief upon realizing that the 2 battles had not happened on their territory. In fact, Du Xiangyang was even reveling in those people's misfortune. Now Black Voodoo Cult and the 3 great families have no choice but to fight. I'm not sure why, but I actually feel quite happy to hear this. Chu Li also let out an odd laugh. Black Voodoo Cult and the 3 great families are obviously planning to preserve their own strength while everyone else is fighting the 3 ghoul races. Hee. Now that the evil races have entered the Heavenly Calamity continent, Black Voodoo Cult has no choice but to defend the 3 great families they view as their vassal forces. Luo Kursen was also smiling slightly. Everyone was wearing a relaxed expression on their faces, and even the seniors such as Bai Yu and Tu Mao were stroking their beards with odd expressions on their faces. Illusory Demon Sect was under attack too, Xue Moyan suddenly said softly. Her words caused everyone to frown and fall silent. No one offered an opinion on this matter. Xue Moyan looked up and swept a glance across everyone with pure, bright eyes. She looked downcast upon doing so. She couldn't see a shred of worry or anxiety from these people's eyes or faces at all. She could only see plain indifference. She suddenly noticed that Shi Shiling's abrupt decision to back out of the operation had caused Illusory Demon Sect to be kicked out of this little alliance. Finally, she turned to look at Qin Lai. Unfortunately, there was only gravity and stern indifference in Qin Lai's eyes. She couldn't find a shred of pity for the Illusory Demon Sect in him at all. Everyone, let's discuss how we should act against the 3 great ghoul races in the Absolute Een graveyard. He of Celestial Artifact Sect narrowed his eyes as he motioned for everyone to sit down and discuss. Yes, serious matters first. Let's discuss how to attack. Sit down and talk. As they spoke, they sat down around Qin Lai. Smartly, no one discussed Illusory Demon Sect. Xue Moyan sighed inwardly. She was from Illusory Demon Sect and had great feelings towards Illusory Demon Sect as well as admiration towards her master, Yu Lingwei. Even though Shi Shioling and Zhou Ruijie made some decisions detrimental to Blood Fiend Sect, she still hoped that Illusory Demon Sect wasn't isolated by others, especially at this important time when the foreign races were invading. She knew that Illusory Demon Sect was not as united as other sect. She knew that when Bin desired to only replace her master Yu Lingwei and become the sect master of Illusory Demon Sect. She knew that Shi Shioling and other elders of the sect were discontent at the connection between her master and her mother. In a state like this, the blue ghoul race invaded Illusory Demon Sect. Without the help of this small alliance, Illusory Demon Sect would receive a painful blow. She did not want this to occur. Do not worry too much. Illusory Demon Sect is a silver force, and they will not have too hard a time against one of the 3 ghoul races, Chu Li said as he walked close. The 3-level soul altar experts of the 3 ghoul races are in the firmament above our heads. The battle above is what will truly determine the direction of the land of chaos. Xue Moyan stilled. After thinking, she nodded slightly and didn't say anything else. The group continued to discuss how to attack the Absolute Yin graveyard. An hour later, they got back onto their chariots, sedans, spirit birds and flew into the sky. Qin Lai, may we talk alone? Luo Kursin of Celestial Artifact Sect stood inside a blue crystalline chariot, her eyes shining, as she gave an invitation. Talk about what? Qin Lai said coolly. Celestial Artifact Sect hopes to purchase Blaze profound bombs from Grey Island, Luo Kursin said seriously. Qin Lai was astounded. I only knew from these past few days that Grey Island does not belong to Blood Fiend Sect, but rather to you. Luo Kursin's bright eyes flashed. The martial practitioners of other forces in the surroundings were astounded. In the last year, Grey Island had gained some small fame in the Land of Chaos based on the Blaze Profound Bomb. Many forces noticed Grey Island and bought Blaze Profound Bombs through Illusory Demon Sect. They thought that Grey Island and Bloody Fiend Sect were the one and the same. Hearing Luo Kursin say this, people were both shocked and puzzled. Did Qin Lai really have something to do with Grey Island? What they didn't know was since Luo Kursin found that Qin Lai knew how to inscribe ancient diagrams, she had extreme interest in Qin Lai. In these 2 days, she used the wide information sources of Celestial Artifact Sect to learn information on Qin Lai. She learned that Qin Lai was in charge of Grey Island, Blood Island, and Flaming Sun Island. She learned that Qin Lai didn't have any relationship at all with Blood Fiend Sect. They were just pure allies. She increasingly felt that Qin Lai contained many secrets. Celestial Artifact Sect really wants to purchase Blaze Profound Bombs. Qin Lai's mind moved. Of course, we can buy according to the market price, and even the price that Illusory Demon Sect gives. You know that Celestial Artifact Sect does not lack spirit stones. Luo Kursin said proudly. Illusory Demon Sect purchased Blaze Profound Bombs from Grey Island at a low price and then sold them at a high price. In this recent year, they had earned a great amount. Illusory Demon Sect's price was higher than market price, but forces still fought over the bombs because the Blaze Profound Bombs were of astounding effect in large battles. I wish to agree, but unfortunately, we have encountered some obstacles. Qin Lai motioned for Xin Yu to move closer. Xin Yu smiled slightly and had the golden-winged Luan go closer to Luo Kursin's crystalline chariot to decrease the distance between Qin Lai and Luo Kursin. What obstacles? Luo Kursin pressed. The materials we use to forge Blaze Profound Bombs have been limited by Illusory Demon Sect. The forging has stopped recently, Qin Lai explained. Luo Kursin's eyes lit up and then she giggled. So that is how it is. It seems that this is one of the reasons your relationship with Illusory Demon Sect has worsened. She guessed the truth. Qin Lai did not refute it. Yes, because of the foreign race invasion, I had Grey Island transport over all the Blaze Profound Bombs they made. But this way, there were no left to give to Illusory Demon Sect. They cut off their spirit material supply to us, so that the forging of the Blaze Profound Bombs and the cultivation of the martial practitioners have stopped. Transactions of large amounts of spirit materials usually need countless large flying spirit artifacts and large ships. This is also being transported across continents. All of this takes times. Luo Kursin gave a understanding smile. Grey Island doesn't have so many large spirit artifacts, nor transportation ships, or time, right? That could be said. Qin Lai nodded. You do not have them, but my Celestial Artifact Sect does. Also, we have the highest level of item teleportation formations. If we build the highest grade item teleportation formation on Grey Island, all of your present problems will be resolved. Luo Kursin was full of confidence. Qin Lai took a deep breath and said, That is so. Only my grandfather can build the highest grade artifact teleformation. Luo Kursen smiled brightly. I know, Qianlai said. Then, should we have a chat after this battle? Luo Kursen smiled slightly. Of course, Qianlai agreed. Then let's first do this? All right. The two formed a verbal agreement. The golden-winged Luan separated from Luo Kursen's crystal chariot. Xinyu smiled faintly. It seems that you do not need my help. Turning, Qianlai looked deeply at her and asked, Senior sister, how did you prepare to help me? Truthfully, also through Luo Han. Have him build a top-tier item teleportation formation on Grey Island. Xinyu forced a smile. I heard that Luo Han was hard to deal with. Other people are not able to move him, but my grandfather can. He owes my grandfather a favor. If my grandfather goes to find him, he will agree no matter what. So that is how it is. Now it seems you do not need my help. That Luo Kursen is clearly interested in some aspect of you. What aspect? Spirit diagrams, more accurately, ancient diagrams. Qianlai was silent. His thoughts were the same as Xinyu. He thought that Luo Kursen had come for those. A few months ago, when he left with the 5 flame-flowing light sword, Xinyu and Luo Kursen had both been present. At the time, Luo Kursen had determined the sword had an ancient diagram. Right now, the power that the 5 flame-flowing light sword displayed in Du Xiangyang's hands showed everything. He had been the one to take the sword away in the end. He was the master of Grey Island. Grey Island was formed from a group of artificers, and they produced blaze-profound bombs. Everything was clear. I will talk with her. After a while, Qianlai calmed down and took out meat to eat. Xinyu looked deeply at him, nodded and didn't speak further. The golden-winged Luan continued to move forward. Half a month later, the chariots, flying sedans, spirit birds, and thousands of human martial practitioners appeared silently in the clouds above the Absolute In graveyard. Even the loudest crystalline chariots almost didn't make any sounds. People deliberately suppressed their energy fluctuations and examined the Absolute In graveyard from the sky. It's a bit cold. Du Xiangyang frowned. This was at sunset, and the rose colors filled the sky. Yet when they appeared, they found the sky was dark and without any of the lights of sunset. Gray clouds shrouded the sky above the Absolute In graveyard. The clouds carried darkness and coldness. The coldness could reach into their consciousness and made people feel ill at ease. Underneath, there were graves of many sizes. Many graves had been dug open with dark black holes that produced cold and dark wind. For some reason, everyone felt a thread of coldness after looking at those holes. This doesn't feel the same as before, Chuli suddenly said. It is not quite right. A Terminator sect member who had came here before frowned. The Yin energy here wasn't so heavy. There weren't this many holes, nor such coldness that could reach the soul. Of course it is the 3 great races that are behind this. Baiyu snorted. Qianlai was about to speak when his eyes suddenly lit up. He couldn't stop them. Inside the soul-suppressing orb, the 6 spirits of void and chaos passed through the 3rd and 2nd space through a strange ray of light and wanted to come out. They seemed extremely hungry. The 6 spirits of void and chaos ignored his objections and flew out of the soul-suppressing orb as 6 bright and colorful rays of light in succession. Qianlai's eyes lit up when they appeared. He noticed that they were many times more spirited than they looked before. Even their shrunk bodies had been restored to the usual size. What are these things? Tian Yu of 10,000 Beast Mountains asked in surprise. The surrounding martial practitioners of the 4 forces were also staring at the spirits of void and chaos in astonishment. They didn't seem to recognize the wonder that was a spirit of void and chaos. It's nothing, just 6 infant beasts. Qianlai threw out a random excuse. He tried to communicate with the spirits of void and chaos. Yaya. When the 6 spirits of void and chaos sensed his inquiry, they let out strange voices as if they were explaining something. Unfortunately, Qianlai couldn't understand what they were saying. He could detect excitement, astonishment, anxiety, and various other emotions from them. Like tiny spirit birds, They flew away from Qinlai and circled above the Absolute In graveyard. They lingered around the holes that were spouting In energy while looking very happy. However, they didn't dare to enter into the holes. They seemed to be afraid of something. What's wrong? Xin Yu also asked. Maybe there really is something strange. He frowned and took out the demon sealing tombstone. He swiftly dripped a lifeblood essence on the tombstone and attempted to bring up the image of the Earth Ghoul race hiding underground once more. Beside him, He and everyone else were staring at him. A thick gray mist covered the space above the demon sealing tombstone. It covered up everything like an insoluble cloud. He actually couldn't detect the three great ghoul races' movements. Wait me for a moment. His face darkened. His wariness peaked as he secretly channeled the power of his bloodline. As his blood boiled, he closed his eyes and did his best to sense the marks. No branded evil races went mad because of the imprints or revealed themselves around the Absolute In graveyard. Qinlai grew more and more astonished. I've lost track of them. Now I can't say for certain if the three ghoul races had people hiding inside the graveyard. The moment he said this, everyone's faces turned heavy. Their gazes now became tinted with a bit of wariness. Should we just ignore this place? Feng Eo of Celestial Artifact Sect expressed his opinion. We know too little about the Absolute In graveyard, so it's best if we don't go too deep inside it. Also, you are the one who said that the Earth Ghoul race is loved by the Earth, are extremely proficient in underground warfare. We shouldn't head inside. Luo Kursen said carefully. We can leave, sure. Tu Muo nodded. Then we shall abandon this place. Qinlai respected and complied to everyone's wishes. He gathered his soul consciousness and called out to the 6 spirits of void and chaos, telling them to return to the soul-suppressing orb. Chip Chip Jaja. Ya! However, the 6 spirits of void and chaos continued to linger above the Absolute In graveyard and communicate with each other through their unique method. They still weren't willing to leave. In fact, they made gestures at Qinlai as if begging him to do something to the Absolute In graveyard. Qinlai grew more and more puzzled. Judging from the spirits of void and chaos reactions, there must be something beneath the Absolute In graveyard that attracted their attention. However, they were also afraid of something and didn't dare to lead the way downward. They were hoping that someone could lead ahead of them. Qinlai, he exclaimed softly. Wait a moment. Qinlai frowned deeply. He sat down on the golden-winged Luan and pondered for a moment. In the end, he decided to send his soul consciousness down underground and probe around the area. Don't be reckless. Shun Yu hastily stopped him. Those evil races are just as proficient with soul power as us. With your level of cultivation, it is highly likely that your true soul will be pulled in by them if they caught your soul consciousness. The succumbance of one's soul is most troublesome, and we won't be able to save you even if we want to. This may be a trap set up by the evil races. Cut the impulse, kid. Your soul isn't strong enough to probe the Absolute In graveyard. Don't. Everyone was advising him against his choice. It was at this moment a peak Nirvana realm expert of the Terminator sect suddenly raised his eyebrows. Eh? Lu Gao looked towards the AST. A few martial practitioners who reached the late stage of Nirvana realm also looked at that direction with slightly changed expressions. There are evil race clansmen that are rushing their way towards us. The group immediately prepared their arms in response while looking anxious. Qinlai circulated his bloodline power once more but found nothing out of the ordinary. This was how he knew that there were no branded ghouls in the incoming group. It was also why he wasn't able to predict their arrival ahead of time. A few minutes later, whoosh whoosh whoosh, the sound of floating stones streaking through the air reached them first. Before long, 7 huge floating stones appeared before their eyes. Hundreds of 3 ghoul races clansmen were standing at the top of the bone towers erected above those floating stones. They looked anxious and worried. They looked obviously surprised when they saw the human group. It didn't look like they expected to run into them above the Absolute In graveyard. It was obvious that they weren't after their group. Underground. A Heaven Ghoul race elder glared at them once coldly before he did something no one expected. He pointed at the Absolute In graveyard. The hundreds of outsiders standing above the bone tower let out shrill howls and charged towards the Absolute graveyard. Their targets weren't the human races but the eerie-looking holes that had suddenly appeared above the Absolute graveyard. They dove straight towards the underground. The human experts who had just prepared themselves for a fierce battle exchanged puzzled glances with each other, not knowing what on spirit realm was going on. A while later, Qianlai rubbed his nose and said with an odd expression, "It doesn't look like they've come for us. Does that mean that there is an enemy they hated even more than us beneath the Absolute graveyard?" Lu Gao looked just as confused. "Last time we saw a lot of evil races hiding beneath the Absolute graveyard on the demon ceiling tombstone." Chu Li looked startled. Could it be that those people were met with something? Now that he mentioned it, everyone thought quickly and gradually came to the same conclusion. The evil races beneath the Absolute graveyard most definitely had encountered some troubles. The Absolute graveyard used to be a place where moon-worshipping cult buried their dead, and moon-worshipping cult itself was the greatest evil cult to exist on the land of chaos several thousand years ago. No one can deny that the moon-worshipping cult once ruled this land, and we know little about this evil cult too. We don't even know why they suddenly declined. He of Celestial Artifact Sect said with a serious look on his face. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, the 6 spirits of void and chaos who refused to return to the soul-suppressing orb all this time noticed the outsiders slipping underground and trailed behind them. They slipped all the way to the bottom while they were still talking. The moment they vanished from Qianlai's sight, a most profound connection was built between Qianlai and them. They transmitted the scenes they saw to him like videos. In an instant, it was as if Qianlai had gained 6 new pairs of eyes. He could see everything the 6 spirits of void and chaos saw. His brain suddenly felt a little confused. All kinds of images were slipping past his head, keeping him from differentiating which were the images he was seeing and which were the images coming from the spirits of void and chaos. He couldn't help but close his eyes. Wait a moment. I can look underground now," he exclaimed while his eyes were closed. The martial practitioners gathered around him shuddered when they heard this. They were all looking at him like he was a monster. "What else can you not do?" Luo Kurson of the Celestial Artifact Sect said quietly. It was a sentiment echoed by many other people. Qianlai could see what the evil races were doing, trigger the imprints inside their body, and even use the Thunderblitz would to increase the power of the profound Thunder Heart and kill the evil races en masse. Now, he was claiming that he could see into the underground of the Absolute graveyard from the ground surface. He was even doing it with his eyes closed. Everything he thing looked strange and unbelievable. The astonishment in their hearts kept growing bigger and bigger, wanting to know what else he could do. In fact, the better question was what couldn't he do? The 6 spirits of void and chaos continued to venture deep into the Absolute graveyard. The scene that greeted Qianlai were gray and dark images. He could see some empty underground stone chambers in the brighter images. And in those chambers he saw dry bones, rotten corpses, bottles, jars, and unknown evil formations. Piles of dry bones and rotten corpses could be found on some of those evil formations. There were also all kinds of strange materials everywhere. Most of these materials were either bones with phosphoric poison inside them, the innards of evil creatures or spirit beasts, heads, and many more obviously highly toxic plants. It was obvious that someone in moon-worshipping cult had performed all kinds of evil rituals in the underground palaces of the Absolute graveyard. It was a style of ritual that was completely different from Yuji, Yiji, and Shuiji's. The 6 spirits of void and chaos continued to travel down further. Suddenly, an image transmitted by the fire Qilin spirit of void and chaos drew all of his attention. Deep inside the Absolute graveyard where a vast stone palace could be found, dozens of evil race clansmen were clutching their heads and screaming loudly. They were seated at the center of an altar made of clean jadestone. The heads and cores of many spirit beasts and decrepit spirit artifacts that glowed green in color were put above the altar. A faint green bubble had enveloped the entire altar. Right now, those Heaven Ghoul, Earth Ghoul, and Blue Ghoul clansmen were clutching their heads with bulging eyes. Qianlai could see clearly that their souls were floating uncontrollably out of their body bit by bit. They were wisps of outsider souls. The souls were fused into the altar as ghastly shadows flickered. The faint green bubble enveloping the altar abruptly shrank and changed form continuously. The ripples on the bubble grew more and more turbulent. Countless tiny soul tendrils slowly appeared from the gaps beneath the altar and entered into the concentrated green cloud. It didn't take long before a soul in the shape of a dragon was slowly formed. The dragon's soul looked blurry, and it seemed to be searching for something as it roamed around the altar. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Very soon, the beast bones, cores, and decrepit spirit artifacts were fused into the dragon's soul. The dragon's soul slowly swelled as dark sparks became scattered to the surroundings. Powerful energy rippled from inside the dragon's soul. Crack, crack, crack. The altar beneath the dragon's soul abruptly shattered into countless pieces. Roar! A dragon's roar abruptly resounded from beneath the shattered altar. An evil dragon that was dark brown in color and dozens of meters long was abruptly revealed. The dragon's soul above the altar sank and submerged into the evil dragon's body completely. The gray-brown evil dragon twisted its body with a bit of rustiness before flapping its unique feathered wings and flew out of the room, roaring. The palace where the evil dragon once was exploded into smithereens instantly. About 100 or so three ghoul races clansmen were operating around the area. They hastily rushed over to attack the emerging evil dragon the second they saw it. The evil dragon roared and spat out green flames from its mouth. The flames contained a high concentration of corrosive aura. Many three ghoul races clansmen who were touched by the green flames immediately started melting as flesh and skin fell off their bodies. The evil dragon seized the opportunity to grab these heavily injured evil race clansmen and toss them all into his mouth, chewing. The bloody battle here was just starting. Another image appeared in Qianlai's mind, and although it was a scene that was similar to this bloody battle, it was a lot fiercer. Inside an underground palace that was even bigger than the one Qianlai saw earlier, the corpses that belonged the three ghoul races could be seen everywhere. A grand total of 6 evil dragons were letting out violent roars inside this palace while spitting black flames, icy breaths, and dark green poison. Hundreds of three ghoul race clansmen, even the weakest among them were at least Nether Passage realm, were surrounding the 6 evil dragons tightly and doing their best to kill them. While a lot of three ghoul race clansmen were killed in the process, they managed to leave many wounds on the 6 evil dragons. The battle was fiercer than ever before. More images appeared in his head thanks to the 6 spirits of void and chaos. There was a third underground palace beneath the Absolute graveyard where 2 groups of 3 ghoul races clansmen were fighting another 2 evil dragons. The final image he saw was that of a dead evil dragon surrounded by 5 Nirvana realm experts and dozens of helpers of the 3 ghoul races. The 3 ghoul races clansmen looked as excited as madmen as they pounced towards the evil dragon like flies to rotten meat, taking chunks of bloody flesh from the beast with every mouthful. The scene was incredibly bloody. Before the Absolute graveyard was discovered by moon-worshipping cult and used as a place to conduct their evil rituals. This place was probably a dragon's graveyard. It is the graveyard of evil dragons, Qianlai suddenly said. Right now, the experts of all 4 forces were gathered around him and observing his every movement. When they heard his random claim, they grew astonished and hastily asked for the reason he said so. Right now, the 3 ghoul races clansmen were engaged in fierce battle against a dozen or so evil dragons deep beneath the Absolute graveyard. Qianlai inhaled deeply and withdrew his mind temporarily. He forced himself to ignore the images being transmitted by the 6 spirits of void and chaos and reopened his eyes. In the past, moon-worshipping cult discovered this dragon's graveyard and built the Absolute graveyard above it to hide its existence. Not only that, moon-worshipping cult even conducted all kinds of evil rituals in attempt to help them regenerate their soul thoughts through the collecting of soul fragments. I don't know how this turned out to be, but at any rate there are a dozen or so evil dragons at the dragon's graveyard beneath the Absolute graveyard right now. Many of the 3 ghoul races clansmen were torn and devoured by the evil dragons, but they also managed to kill one in return and are devouring its flesh and blood. When he was done, The human experts around him sucked in a deep breath of shock. Evil dragons? Living evil dragons? And dozens of them, you say? The evil dragons are an evil offshoot of the giant dragon race. They seem to be a mutation of the pure dragon race. Unlike the giant dragon race, they have feathered wings behind their backs. They have sharp claws and are normally brutal, vicious, immoral, and bloodthirsty. Evil dragons are hated even by giant dragons. Whenever they commit evil, it is the giant dragons who mobilize first to kill them all. So how are there a dozen or so evil dragons hiding beneath the Absolute in graveyard? The three ghoul races are a pain already, but now even the evil dragons have reared their heads. Damn it! The crowd discussed with serious looks on their faces. What do you guys think? Should we continue deeper into Prism Continent? Qianlai asked. They frowned. This may not necessarily be bad news, Xinyu suddenly said. Everyone subconsciously looked towards her. At the very least, the evil dragons are fighting the three ghoul races right now. Xinyu smiled. The flesh and blood of the evil dragons are probably very useful to the great sage's recovery. Moreover, they probably give great benefits to the three ghoul races' fragmentation realm and nirvana realm experts. Qianlai concluded from his observation. They're probably trying to hunt down these evil dragons. So you're saying that the three ghoul races would be able to recover swiftly if they were to succeed in their hunt of the evil dragons? He said worriedly. I believe so. Qianlai nodded. The situation is a little troublesome then. He frowned. The underground, even deeper than the Absolute in graveyard, was a cold and lightless domain. Here, neither the evil dragons nor the three ghoul races were affected by the environment in the slightest. On the other hand, they were completely unfamiliar with this environment. They would definitely suffer heavy losses if they were to join the battle recklessly. They couldn't interfere with the battle happening below. While they were thinking, another group of three ghoul race clansmen about 500 strong flew over on floating rocks again. These martial practitioners all stared at the humans upon arriving at this place. After a brief moment of hesitation, they charged wordlessly towards the underground in a flash. They moved so quickly that it was as if they were afraid that the humans would stop them from entering. It would appear that the evil dragons below are far more important to them than us. Du Xiangyang exclaimed in amazement. A human's physical body contained only a small amount of refined flesh and blood energy compared to evil dragons. To them, the evil dragons are the real tonics that could help them recover swiftly. Qianlai added. How goes the battle below? He asked seriously. Qianlai closed his eyes once more. Borrowing the eyes of the six spirits of void and chaos, he observed the battle situation underground and noticed that they were devouring the shattered rocks of the altar. Every altar seemed to hide an evil dragon underneath because evil ritual needed to be performed to draw in souls and awaken the evil dragons. If the evil dragons were to break out of the altar would certainly explode into smithereens and scatter everywhere in the surroundings. It would appear that these rock fragments were exactly what the spirits of void and chaos were looking for. They were the reason the spirits of void and chaos had insisted to stay. The battle between the evil dragons and the three ghoul races were bloody and intense. No one had the time to pay attention to the six spirits of void and chaos. Moreover, the spirits of void and chaos were beings that existed between the planes of void and reality. They had also hidden themselves on purpose amidst the dark underground environment, so even less attention were paid to them. They were seizing the opportunity to eat to their heart's content. From their bodies, Qianlai could see occasional sparkles that was invisible to all eyes but his own. These sparkles were the reflection of a rich and pure single-attribute energy manifested in real form. Qianlai suddenly had a premonition that the six spirits of void and chaos would be able to evolve for real after today's feeding. The battle down there is still in a deadlock. In fact, it seems like the evil dragons have a slight upper hand. Qianlai reopened his eyes after a moment of observation. All right, then let us guard the Absolute in graveyard's entrance. He pondered for a moment and said, we must stop more three ghoul races clansmen from going underground. That's a good idea. Let's do as you say. All right. Everyone expressed their agreement to the plan. The sky gradually darkened. The martial practitioners of the four great silver forces descended from the clouds and spread out around the entrances of the Absolute in graveyard, waiting patiently. A lot of large, bright banners, stone pillars and strange glittering metallic threads were placed at the entrances of the holes spouting cold energy. Special formations of special uses were created using these items. Qin Lai was also situated at one of the holes. Qin Lai sat at the center of the 8 thunderblitz trees that were erected around him like sky pillars. Not a ray of sunlight was able to enter the Absolute in graveyard even when it was broad daylight, so the place became pitch black after night arrived. It was literally so dark they couldn't see their own fingers. The cold energy exiting the holes of the Absolute in graveyard grew icier and icier. In fact, it became so cold that the group had no choice but gather their spirit energy and form shields, fire rings, or ignite heavenly flame crystals to resist the cold. The flames illuminated the pitch-black Absolute in graveyard and allowed people not far away to see each other. Time trickled bit by bit. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, 2 figures were ignited by terrific blaze far into the sky. Qin Lai's bloodline boiled as he gathered his strength and penetrated the Thunderblitz wood with lightning immediately. The 3 ghoul race's clansmen have arrived. He reminded everyone. The moment he said this, wisps of blue light immediately connected the 8 Thunderblitz trees together like tightly knitted ropes. Lightning swam under the control of his soul consciousness, and he inscribed a composite spirit diagram using the ancient diagram as base in no time at all. Kill them! An evil and stern voice rang from the distance. The group of 500 or so 3 ghoul race's clansmen riding on floating rocks had burned because they had the blaze imprint inside them. This also meant that the remnant of the blaze family was around the area. They immediately figured out that the human race was around here somewhere. When they got closer and saw that the Absolute in graveyard was illuminated by bright flames, they grew even certain that the human had arrived harboring malicious intentions. Kill them all, he also ordered. In an instant, hundreds of dazzling and colorful lights were fired from the holes and into the air. Flying lights brimming with tremendous energy were also shot out of the special spirit artifacts made of giant banners, stone pillars, and metallic threads. Dozens of 3 ghoul race's clansmen were cut through by the flowing light and killed before their bodies even hit the ground. Another dozen or so floating rocks exploded because they were struck by the flowing light too. The 3 ghoul race's clansmen screamed and charged downward. Thump! The dull thump of a heartbeat suddenly rippled out from inside the 8 slabs of Thunderblitz wood, and a dozen or so Nether Passage realm enemy martial practitioners instantly screamed, vomited blood, and died under the attack. Their eyes were lightless, and a scorched black holes appeared where their hearts were. Because their hearts weren't able to endure the thunderous impact, they exploded and killed their hosts instantly. The 8 slabs of Thunderblitz wood were swimming with lightning that joined together to create a spirit diagram that looked like the starry sky. Deep in the night, the glowing threads that were lightning in form were so bright that it pained the surrounding people's eyes a little. While the spirit diagram might not look all that beautiful, eye-catching, or dazzling during daytime, it was the complete opposite at night. Beneath the composite spirit diagram, Qin Lai gripped his hands tightly as he conjured the profound Thunder Heart spirit art. He refined his strength continuously to gradually build up the gigantic, profound Thunder Heart thumping beside him. This is He, Master Artificer of Celestial Artifact Sect, stared closely at the spirit diagram above Qin Lai's head with great astonishment on his face. The composite spirit diagram above Qin Lai's head was dazzling, unbelievably complicated, and contained an unimaginable of wonders. At night, the spirit diagram truly looked like the stars that illuminated the night sky. He's not just an artificer. He's an ancient artificer who can inscribe ancient diagrams, Luo Kursen said softly. He shook as the light of disbelief erupted from his eyes. You knew this from the beginning, MM? Luo Kursen lowered her voice and explained. A few days ago, he helped Du Xiangyang repair a flying sword. I've seen that flying sword before, and the spirit diagram inscribed inside the weapon is an ancient spirit diagram. At the time, I concluded that no one on the land of chaos can fix the weapon, because there exists no one even in Celestial Artifact sect who is well versed in ancient spirit diagrams. I have noticed Du Xiangyang's flying sword. Unless I'm sorely mistaken, I believe that it is probably a heaven-grade spirit artifact. I had wondered why Heavenly Sword Mountain was willing to gift an early-stage Fulfillment Realm kid a heaven-grade spirit artifact. He exclaimed in realization. That is the flying sword, all right, Luo Kursin affirmed. Ancient spirit diagrams. Ancient artificer. He looked extremely excited. If I'm right, the Blaze Profound bombs forged by Grey Island probably had something to do with him too. Luo Kursin continued. Although the Blaze Profound bomb forged by Grey Island seemed like a variation of the Terminator Profound bomb, my research revealed that some of the techniques used to refine the Blaze Profound bombs had exceeded the original Terminator Profound bomb. This is especially true when it comes to the spirit diagrams. Are you saying? He exclaimed. Yes, I asked my grandfather to break through the exterior restriction of the Blaze Profound bomb so that we can look inside it. Luo Kursin nodded. When he looked at Qin Lai once more, his eyes were filled with the light of excitement. Once we've cleaned up these outsiders, I wish to speak with him properly and see if we can cooperate with Grey Island. Luo Kursin suggested tentatively. Of course you should. An artificer who knows ancient spirit diagrams will revolutionize the times of artifact forging on the land of chaos. He exclaimed in a low tone. Thump! Thump thump! Above Qin Lai's head, the gigantic profound thunder heart continued to let out fearsome heartbeats. The spirit art was like a giant hammer of God that struck the hearts of the three ghoul race's clansmen again and again, destroying them and causing the enemy martial practitioners to fall from the sky. The human martial practitioners gathered above the Absolute in graveyard numbered several thousand strong. Not to mention that they had set up many spirit artifacts and strange formations beforehand to attack their enemies. The three ghoul race's clansmen who rushed over from the distance numbered only 500 or so. Therefore, they quickly lost more than half their numbers after several charges. When the remaining three ghoul race's clansmen noticed that the situation was bad, they left behind only the Earth Ghoul clansmen to enter the ground and burrow their way towards the Absolute in graveyard. The Blue Ghoul clansmen and Heaven Ghoul clansmen immediately pulled away from the Absolute in graveyard to summon even more people. We've killed at least 300 people. Just wait. They will definitely send more reinforcements over. I don't think we need to head to the center of Prism Continent anymore. Why didn't the Earth Ghoul clansmen take their Heaven Ghoul clansmen and Blue Ghoul race clansmen along to burrow into the Absolute in graveyard? From outside, Tian Yu of the 10,000 Beast Mountain asked in puzzlement. Qin Lai cast a glance at her and said, The underground of the Absolute in graveyard is different from others. What I know is that there exists many layers of Yin energy that looks like barriers inside the ground beneath us. These layers of Yin energy are so powerful that even the Earth Ghoul clansmen will find it very difficult to break through. Therefore, they weren't able to bring the Heaven Ghoul clansmen and Blue Ghoul clansmen in with them at all. Got it. Tian Yu smiled. Qin Lai nodded and took a liking of Tian Yu. He added, The reason the Earth Ghoul clansmen wanted to get in from these holes is because they don't want to waste too much energy in breaking through the Yin energy seals underground. Although he had fought an intense battle against Tian Yu earlier and even hurt her with his bloodline, Tian Yu hadn't reacted with hatred like he expected her to be. In fact, she acted like nothing had happened at all. It was as if Tian Yu paid no mind over the outcome of that fair battle. Qin Lai, why don't you look underground once more? Du Xiangyang called out to him. Qin Lai withdrew his power of thunder and lightning and closed his eyes once more. He concentrated his soul consciousness back to the underground. Suddenly, he realized that there was only one image that was being transmitted by the 6 spirits of void and chaos. This meant that the 6 spirits of void and chaos had gathered together. They were currently at an unbelievably vast stone palace with a ceiling that was at least 100 meters tall. There were huge pillars everywhere inside this palace. At the center of this stone palace, there was an altar that was at least 100 fields wide with many giant skulls, carcasses, eerie-looking spirit artifacts and strange spirit herbs placed above it. He could see 99 narrow but long ditches that stretched towards the altar like 99 streams. Thick liquid of black, dark green, blood red and dark blue color were running inside these ditches towards the altar. The liquid obviously contained souls of varied strength, and upon closer attention Xianxia could see that there were shadows concealed inside the liquid. What are those things? Xianxia sensed carefully. The weak wisps of shadow slowly revealed their true form under his careful observation. It was the soul of a mortal. The weak shadows were the souls of mortals, whereas the stronger shadows were the souls of martial practitioners. Somehow, the 99 ditches were carrying an unbelievable amount of souls from God knows where towards the giant altar. Above the altar, the pile of blurry shadows looked like they were gathering together and attempting to take form. The clear image of a dragon soul was being built slowly. This soul altar was also performing an evil ritual which purpose was to awaken or summon an evil dragon. Moreover, this evil dragon was obviously far stronger than the evil dragons that had awakened earlier. The 6 spirits of void and chaos were scattered at various corners of the altar and looking at it anxiously. They seemed to be waiting for the moment the evil dragon awakens and the altar explodes so that they could devour the shattered rocks later. This altar was situated at the deepest part of the underground, so not even the 3 ghoul races clansmen had discovered it yet. The altar was drawing in soul thoughts and dark shadows through the 99 ditches and recreating the dragon's soul. Xianxia was incredibly amazed by the process as he observed the altar and attempted to figure out its secrets from the eyes of the 6 spirits of void and chaos. Beside the altar, numerous tiny characters that were as small as earthworms wriggled, swam, glowed, and appeared into existence. Gilbrt. Xianxia subconsciously muttered the words from above the absolute in graveyard when he saw the wriggling words. This was an evil dragon with a true name. Only a rank 8 evil dragon would be named leader of the evil dragons and granted a true name that belonged to no one but itself. All evil dragons who possessed a true name were not to be underestimated. The dragon soul gathering above the altar was still blurry and wobbly. It would appear that it needed some time before it could regain its full form. The 6 spirits of void and chaos continued to wait anxiously beside the altar. Their strength wasn't enough to shatter the altar. Therefore, they couldn't devour the precious spirit materials that made up the altar into their stomachs. That was why they could do nothing but wait. What's going on down there? Xianxia? Du Xiangyang asked. The martial practitioners of the 4 great silver rank forces were all staring passionately at him. They all wanted to know what was going on down there. I see a gigantic altar that seems to be circulating yet. It seems to be remaking an evil dragon that possesses a true name. Xianxia said solemnly with closed eyes. An evil dragon with a true name? That has to be a rank 8 spirit beast at minimum. It's the equivalent of our imperishable realm martial practitioners. The knowledgeable He exclaimed. The battle situation underground would shift greatly the moment he awakens, Shunyu said excitedly. They all noticed that the 3 ghoul races clansmen hadn't sent any soul altar experts over there. In fact, every human and 3 ghoul race soul altar experts were currently involved in the battle above the sky. That battle was the true battle that shifted the tides of war. The victor of the sky battle could easily dictate the battle situation on the ground. Therefore, the underground conflict and the war of Prism Continent was a lot less important to the battle going on above their heads. It will be great if this evil dragon awakens. He also felt hopeful. It looks like he needs a powerful soul thought in order to awaken. Right now, he's drawing in soul thoughts using the altar from other areas. Xianxia observed quietly and added, "He will awaken. It is only a matter of when." Everyone's eyes lit up. Guard this place well and ensure that none of the outsiders enter underground through the absolute in graveyard, he ordered. Understood. Let me see if I can see what the 3 ghoul races are doing. He pondered for a moment and opened his eyes. Then, he withdrew his soul consciousness from the underground and took out the demon sealing tombstone. He gathered a drop of lifeblood essence and dripped it onto the demon sealing tombstone. He was going to inscribe the Blaze family's imprint. However, something unusual happened when his lifeblood essence touched the tombstone this time. The 7 godly lights abruptly flew of the tombstone and entered the holes of the Absolute in graveyard like rainbows. On one end, the 7 godly lights were connected to the demon-sealing tombstone. On the other, they were swiftly extending towards the Absolute in graveyard. Qianlai was shocked by this. In just a dozen or so seconds, he suddenly noticed that the 7 divine lights had reached the deepest part of the Absolute in graveyard and were converging at the altar where the slumbering evil dragon was. The 7 godly lights landed on the altar like great rivers as innumerable brilliant and sparkling divine characters were injected into the altar from the demon-sealing tombstone. The altar abruptly brightened like a lamp. The converging pieces of dragon soul looked like they had gained a tremendous amount of divine power in an instant. Innumerable nameless divine characters became imprinted into the evil dragon's soul in an instant too. The form of the dragon soul that should have taken a long time to fully converge and appear suddenly became clear as the beast skulls, beast cores, spirit artifact fragments, and other offerings suddenly vanished into the altar. Crack! The altar broke like a mirror as cracks appeared all over its surface. The cracks grew longer and more obvious as they swam like slithering snakes. Bang! The altar exploded in the end. A loud and heroic dragon roar rang from beneath the altar, while the 6 spirits of void and chaos were busy snatching the pieces of the altar like crazed monsters. At the same time, the dragon soul hanging above the altar abruptly sank to the bottom. Roar! An evil dragon with sinister horns that was more than 100 meters long spread its wings and flew out of the giant stone palace in terrific commotion. Lord Gilbert has awakened. Our Lord has awakened. He finally woke up. Every evil dragon scattered in separate underground palaces roared and cheered in the language of dragons excitedly when they heard their lord's roar. The evil dragon Gilbert responded with an angry roar too. You damnable reptiles! How dare you return to spirit realm after we accidentally let some of you slip 30,000 years ago? Kill them all! Gilbert charged out of the stone palace and charged right into the center of conflict where the 3 ghoul races and evil dragons were fighting. It flapped its wings and swung its claws everywhere. Dozens of Earth Ghoul clansmen were instantly torn to shreds and turned into fleshy bits by Gilbert. While chewing the flesh of the 3 ghoul races clansmen and swearing loudly, Gilbert also breathed green flames at his hated enemies. Everywhere, the 3 ghoul races clansmen melted like they were submerged in a pool of sulfuric acid the moment they were touched by the flames. Countless ghouls were turned into bloody skeletons in no time at all. Gilbert continued to attack towards all directions and slaughtered everything in sight. Due to his awakening, the battle situation turned from a draw to a one-sided victory. The 3 ghoul races clansmen were either torn apart by Gilbert's claws or melted by his green flames. They died in droves under his attacks. The 12 or so evil dragons joined Gilbert to attack back and forth inside the underground palaces. Very soon, the 3 ghoul races that had slipped to the underground of the Absolute in graveyard noticed that everything was going wrong for them. The remaining martial practitioners began running away with all their might as they tried to return to the Earth's surface. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 7 godly lights unleashed by the demon-sealing tombstone returned from the underground as Qianlai abruptly opened his eyes. What is it? The group hastily asked. The evil dragon with a true name has awakened, Qianlai exclaimed. Everyone looked pleasantly surprised. He looked at the withdrawing godly light of the demon-sealing tombstone with a pondering look on his face. Does his swift awakening has something to do with the 7 godly lights? Luo Kursin exclaimed in astonishment. Qianlai nodded slightly. In the ancient times, during the War of the 100 Races, although a large majority of the races had joined forces to fight against the Heaven Fighting Race, a few races still chose to serve the Heaven Fighting Race loyally as their masters. He rubbed his chin while looking at the demon-sealing tombstone. Suddenly, he said, the evil dragon race was one of the Heaven Fighting Race's most loyal pawns. They once swore an eternal oath of loyalty to the Heaven Fighting Race. Everyone looked at him in astonishment when he said this. He continued to explain, an evil dragon is naturally cruel, warlike, bloodthirsty, obscene, base, and shameless. You basically won't find much merits to speak of from this race. In fact, The only trait they have that can be considered a merit is that they keep to their promises. As long as the promise is made by their ancestors, they will never go back against the promise even in death. When the heaven-fighting race first invaded the spirit realm, it was said that the evil dragon race was one of the greatest opposing powers of the time. They brought huge trouble to the heaven-fighting race, and they never stopped fighting the heaven-fighting race even when the human race, the giant dragon race, the ancient beast race, the dark nether race, and the Azura race had submitted to the heaven-fighting race. In the end, it seems like the heaven-fighting race's leader at the time finally managed to sway the leader of the evil dragon race. After the evil race had sworn loyalty to the heaven-fighting race, they became a bloody spear in the heaven-fighting race's hands and fought at the front line alongside them. Later on, after the heaven-fighting race had dominated all the races and became ruler of Spirit Realm, the evil dragon race was hailed as the greatest contributor of the war and was highly regarded by the heaven-fighting race. They were granted vast domains and many auxiliary worlds. When the 100 races rose to fight against the heaven-fighting race, the evil dragon race remained loyal to the heaven-fighting race and fought hard against the 100 races. In the end, the evil races suffered huge losses and fell quiet after the heaven-fighting race escaped to the space of outer realms. No one knows if they have gone extinct or merely went into hiding. Of course, some people also said that they had left Spirit Realm alongside the heaven-fighting race. He set his gaze on Xianxia after the explanation. The demon-sealing tombstone is the heaven-fighting race's artifact. Maybe it shared a connection with the evil dragons and therefore aided it in awakening ahead of time. Xianxia nodded after the initial surprise. That evil dragon is leading its people and slaughtering the ghouls right now. In fact, they're almost done killing everyone inside. The rest were doing their best to escape from the place. I think it's our time to act now. You're right. Everyone, seal the entrances and kill all of the ghouls that make it to the top, he ordered. He was a master artificer and was highly respected among the people. That was why people obeyed his words easier. Should we leave soon after we kill the escaping ghouls? That evil dragon with a true name isn't something we can deal with, Tu Muo said. That is the plan. And so the martial practitioners of the four forces spread out again above the Absolute In graveyard. Every time they saw a clansman of the three ghoul races emerging from the underground holes, they would immediately greet them with countless spirit artifacts and attacks. The three ghoul races clansmen who fought so hard to make it to the surface died horribly under their attacks. An hour later, no ghoul was still living underground, and none made it to the surface alive either. They were killed either by the evil dragons or the humans above the ground. Surprisingly, the evil dragons didn't charge out of the Absolute In graveyard after killing the three ghoul races clansmen. They continued to hide underground. Worried that those dragons would switch targets to them, the group waited for a moment but didn't see any dragons emerging from the entrances. They all let out a secret sigh of relief. What do we do now? The group turned to look at He. He couldn't help but frown. Right now, the evil dragon Gilbert was crawling inside a stone palace while his subordinates were eating the flesh of the ghouls. A wisp of soul energy appeared vaguely and ephemerally inside the stone palace. Gilbert's dark green eyes glowed with intimidating light. He seemed to be searching for something inside the stone palace. Deep inside his pupils, tiny divine characters seemed to be gathering and assembling themselves. A while later, the divine characters suddenly joined together to form a Blaze family imprint. He shook abruptly when that happened. Almost at the same time, Xianxia, who was still above the Absolute In graveyard, felt his bloodline boil. The divine characters flew like butterflies inside his blood, speaking to him something that only he knew. He closed his eyes and scoured for the profound knowledge hidden inside Bloodline with every bit of soul consciousness, extracting them for his own use. Everyone, do you guys want to leave for the center of Prism Continent or someplace else? A long time later, he opened his eyes and looked at the crowd. I need to meet an evil dragon inside the underground stone palace of the Absolute In graveyard. You want to meet that evil dragon? Why? He was slightly astounded. Maybe I can reach an agreement with those evil dragons. They seem to dislike the three ghoul races greatly, Xianxia expressed. He thought for a moment and then said, The evil dragons and the three ghoul races are indeed great enemies. Everyone was surprised. Before the heaven-fighting race descended upon spirit realm, the evil dragons fought frequently with the three ghoul races. When the heaven-fighting race came to this world, and the major races surrendered, the evil dragon race became a weapon of the heaven-fighting race. Supposedly, one of the conditions for the evil dragon's surrender was to destroy the three ghoul races. When the heaven-fighting race tried to exterminate the three ghoul races, the evil dragon race was one of the major participants. It is logical that these two races will immediately fight when they meet each other. As one of the best artificers of Celestial Artifact Sect, he had some knowledge about the ancient era. My knowledge of the three ghoul races comes from an ancient book. While I know of the three ghoul races, and know their history with the evil dragons, I do not recognize them. He explained. So without you pointing them out, even if I met one of them, I wouldn't be able to tell from which race they belong to. Qianlai nodded. Are you confident that you will not be killed after meeting that evil dragon? The evil dragon race is bloodthirsty, murderous, savage, cruel, emotionless, cunning and devious. They do not seem to have any good traits. Are you sure? He asked again. I think I will be fine. Qianlai put his hand on the demon sealing tombstone and said, I have this. All right, then go down. We can wait for you a bit. He nodded slightly. This? Isn't it be too dangerous? Why do you have to see that evil dragon? Many people expressed their puzzlement. Qianlai did not explain anything. He jumped off Shin Yu's golden-winged Luan and directly fell into a hole in the Absolute Yin graveyard. He moved towards the dark and cold underground. The 6 spirits of void and chaos had previously chased the members of the 3 ghoul races deep into the ground and scattered around the stone palaces. The spirits became his ears and eyes. Recalling 6 spirits' paths, he continued his descent. What he saw along the way were bloody corpses of the 3 ghoul races. Most of the corpses had been torn to pieces, and many had been dissolved by corrosive liquid into bloody skeletons. The scenes he saw along the way were extremely bloody. The thick tang of blood was nauseating. An entire hour later, traveling through the hidden passageways under the ground, he was nearly 10 kilometers under the surface when he finally came to the stone palace where the evil dragon Gilbert was. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The spirits of void and chaos which had been scattered around other places came and spun around him, looking like miniature suns. Qianlai looked and found that the bodies of the spirits had turned into balls that seemed to be swelling like balloons. Whoosh! Before he could say a word, the 6 spirits of void and chaos returned into the soul-suppressing orb to rest as though they were deathly tired. He realized that the next time the spirits of void and chaos come out again, they will have truly leveled up. All of a sudden, a dragon claw suddenly descended. Before he could react, the dragon claw gripped his body. After turning and spinning, he finally steadied his body. Then he found the dragon claw moved him in front of Gilbert's eyes. The evil dragon Gilbert's eyes were like large green lanterns which seemed dark and eerie in the dim stone palace. Yet if one looked loosely into the eyes of this enormous evil dragon, they would find 2 imprints that were unique to the Blaze family. When Qianlai saw the 2 imprints, his worries suddenly disappeared. He grinned, relaxed. He started to channel his bloodline power. Wisps of fierce flame came out of his blood. Countless divine characters flowing and flew out of his body, making him appear dazzling. Gilbert's claw that held him was burned by the blazing flames. The dragon couldn't help but grunt. When Qianlai used a secret art to activate his bloodline and have it burn even brighter, blazing flames even appeared in Gilbert's eyes. Gilbert suddenly started to cry in pain. At that time, Qianlai finally put away his bloodline power, stopped and asked, "Does the oath of the evil dragon race still hold?" Previously, when he had been burning his blood above the Absolute Yin graveyard, he had seen some things from the bloodline. He was right. The evil dragon race had once sworn allegiance to the heaven-fighting race. After this oath had formed, the descendants of the heaven-fighting race could go to the evil dragon race to pick an evil dragon as a steed after maturing. Once the heaven-fighting race descendant and the chosen evil dragon formed a bond, an elder of the heaven fighting race would leave an imprint unique to the family on the evil dragon. As it turned out, this dragon called Gilbert had the imprint of the Blaze family. That imprint had been left by the demon sealing tombstone before Gilbert woke up. Qianlai learned these secrets from deep within his bloodline. On top of that, he also learned the secret art to activate the imprint in the evil dragon using his bloodline. This secret art was why he dared to come alone under the Absolute in graveyard to meet this evil dragon. This was because he had seen through the spirits of void and chaos the imprint unique to the Blaze family in the eyes of the evil dragon. "My race will never break our oaths," Gilbert said in the spirit realm's common language. "Descendants of the god race can come to my race to pick their partner. They can pick those that are below rank 8 and have not been named. And I, the noble and magnificent Gilbert, am an evil dragon that had reached rank 8 and possess a true name. An evil dragon with a true name cannot become your steed. Also, you aren't a pure blood, and you are so weak. Therefore, you do not qualify to become my master." Gilbert howled. "I have not come to enslave you. I do not need you to become my steed. I came to discuss a partnership with you," Qianlai said with a slight smile. "Partnership?" Gilbert became puzzled and then he snorted, saying disappointedly, "As expected, you are not a pure blood after all. The true members of the god race would never discuss a partnership." "Oh? Then what would they do?" Qianlai asked helplessly. "Submit or kill. They never give people another choice," Gilbert said reverently. "Other than you, are there any other evil dragons here that possess a true name? You are only rank 8. If you encounter the old ghouls with 2 or 3 level soul altars, do you believe you will survive?" "No," Qianlai nodded and laughed. "Well then, you are in big trouble. Right now, there are at least 13 soul altar ghoul experts fighting with human soul altar experts in the sky above. The reason they have not reached this place yet is because they haven't had the time," Gilbert suddenly bellowed. "If we did not follow your god race into the war of the 100 races, so many of my race would not have died. If the members of my race who possess true names were here now, then those old ghouls would have all become our food by now. But you are the only one here." Qianlai rudely interrupted him. "Speak. What do you want?" Gilbert howled angrily. "Hiding down here is not a good solution. Once the battle in the skies is determined, as long as soul altar experts from the 3 ghoul races are still alive, they will come here and exterminate the evil dragon race, using your flesh and blood to quickly recover their strength," Qianlai said coldly. "What else are we supposed to do?" Gilbert howled angrily, flapping his wings. He spun in the stone palace and said, full of hatred, "After you of the god race were defeated, you left the spirit realm for the outer space. You only took a small number of my race with you. Most of the evil dragons, those without true names below rank 8, had been abandoned. We had to face the pursuit of the humans, Azura, Wood, Dragon, and other ancient beast races. Do you know how we survived?" Qianlai was silent. "Many of my race were captured alive. They were skinned and had their bones extracted to become spirit materials, to become their food. The auxiliary words that you bestowed upon us fell one by one, and were divided up by those victorious races. The space we could live in grew smaller and smaller. As long as we were alive, as long as our dragon souls were in dragon bodies, our dragon aura would not disappear. They could find us through our dragon aura. In order to survive, me and my clansmen shattered our souls, and shattered the dragon soul through secret arts. We left our dragon souls scattered about and separated from the dragon body. We hid deep in the ground and lived in a fake death state. Because of this, we gave up any hopes of ever breaking through in our cultivation. And all of that was because you once promised that you would come back one day. So we hid deep in the ground and waited in this quasi-death state. We were waiting for your return." When he said this, the evil dragon Gilbert paused and looked deeply at Qianlai. He said, "Unfortunately, you are not the person we are waiting for." Qianlai maintained his silence. He knew that the evil dragons were waiting for a true member of the god race. They were waiting for the members of the god race to come again from outer space and start a new era for Spirit Realm. I am not the person you are waiting for. A moment later, Qin Lai said with a grave expression. But your situation right now is not good. You must do something. Otherwise, you will be killed by the ghouls, or by the human experts that will come in the future. The reality in front of this branch of evil dragons was that cruel. What do you think he might be talking about with the evil dragon? Above the Absolute in graveyard, Du Xiangyang, Luo Chun and other Heavenly Sword Mountain martial practitioners were guarding an entrance while they waited for Qin Lai. Du Xiangyang started talking out of boredom. Luo Chun said indifferently, "Who knows? That kid is growing more and more indecipherable." Du Xiangyang's eyes glowed as he rubbed his chin while thinking. Could the demon sealing tombstone he got from the Graveyard of Gods really be that useful? He used it to detect the 3 ghoul races, trigger their imprints, and even negotiate with the evil dragon right now. It really is surprising. He must have another secret that we still don't know, Luo Chen deduced. Du Xiangyang nodded in deep agreement. I think so too. I hope that he can come out alive. Luo Chen frowned. He has always been like a cockroach, tough to kill, Du Xiangyang answered. On the other side, Celestial Artifact Sex He Baiyu and Luo Kursin had gathered together and seemingly started discussing something in a low tone. Elder He, don't you think that Qin Lai did not just master the demon-sealing tombstone? Luo Kursin lowered her voice. I doubt that he can do so many things through the demon-sealing tombstone too. Feng Io snorted. He looked at the crowd and pondered for a moment. Suddenly, he said, The Graveyard of Gods is not as simple as you think. Oh! Great curiosity poured out of Luo Kursin when she heard this. She straightened herself and listened seriously. Feng Io was also paying attention to his words. Some of these things are known to only a few people. Your father once instructed us not to reveal this to any outsider. He looked at Feng Io. You guys, move away from us a little. Baiyu ordered the Celestial Artifact Sect martial practitioners beside him. The few Fragmentation and Fulfillment Realm martial practitioners quietly retreated until they were at least several hundred meters away. Now, the only people who were still gathered around He were either Nirvana Realm martial practitioners or special people like Luo Kursin and Feng Io. The many rumors out there are true. We are secretly communicating with Zhang Zhuzha. I believe that both of you know about this, don't you? He looked at Feng Io and Luo Kursin. Both of them nodded. Feng Io especially was bowing his head in defeat. I know that the reason I survived the Graveyard of Gods was all thanks to Zhang Zhuzha. I would have been dead for sure otherwise. It's good that you understand that. He nodded and thought for a moment. Finally, he said, Zhang Zhuzha's understanding of the Graveyard of Gods far exceeds ours. According to him, the Graveyard of Gods is supposed to be a training ground for the heaven-fighting race's descendants. The pure soul springs, the ancient elite remains, and the pure soul altars were supposed to be the prizes they prepared for the victors. Luo Kursin and the others looked shocked. Although they were special in Celestial Artifact Sect, Feng Yi and Luo Han had never told them about this. Therefore, they knew nothing about the true secrets of the Graveyard of Gods. Back at Sea Moon Island, the reason Qin Lai was able to take the demon-sealing tombstone from Jiang Tianqing. He looked at Baiyu and continued, And you is probably not because fate had destined it so. It may be because he possesses the bloodline of the heaven-fighting race. The revelation was like a bomb in their ears. Baiyu, Feng Io, and Luo Kursin nearly broke out into a scream. In fact, Luo Kursin had to cover her mouth tightly to stop herself from screaming. The heaven-fighting race's bloodline? How can he possibly have the heaven-fighting race's bloodline? Baiyu turned pale with shock. This isn't something we can learn. He shook his head and continued analyzing. Only the descendants who possess the bloodline of the heaven-fighting race can win the demon-sealing tombstone's approval so easily. Moreover, only those who have the bloodline can easily ignite the imprints inside the bodies of 3 ghouls race's clansmen and detect where they are through the demon-sealing tombstone. Also, he looked at the Absolute in graveyard beneath them. Only those who have the heaven-fighting race's bloodline would dare go underground and meet with those evil dragons. Those bloodthirsty evil dragons hated many races, and the human race were among the ones they hated the most. If he was just a human, the evil dragons would kill him the second he encountered them. There's absolutely no chance he would survive the meeting. Does that mean that he may very well come to an agreement with the evil dragons? Baiyu asked in amazement. That I cannot say for sure. I can only say that the evil dragon race will never go back on their promise, and they will not kill him beneath the Absolute in graveyard. This also means that he will probably come out safely, if there are no accidents. He said. Elder He, how sure are you that he possesses the bloodline of the heaven-fighting race? Luo Kurson asked seriously. I am at least 90% sure. He answered seriously. The group of martial practitioners exchanged a glance with each other before falling silent. They weren't sure what to do next. The heaven-fighting race was ultimately chased away to outer space by us, the human race, after we united all the races of Spirit Realm. Baiyu said with a dark expression. In my opinion, the heaven-fighting race won't let us go if they one day come back to Spirit Realm. Will they? Could this Qianlai be a pawn? A pawn that's buried in Spirit Realm, so that he may be activated at a critical moment. No one can answer your question. He sighed. So, how should we treat Qianlai? Luo Kurson asked carefully. We must keep him alive. We can only learn about the secrets of those ancient spirit diagrams if he is alive. Therefore, we must conceal and guard the secret of his bloodline closely. He said severely. His eyes were staring straight at Feng Eo when he said this. Feng Eo cowered under the gaze and said weakly, I'm not that foolish, am I? You'd better watch your own mouth, or not even your father will forgive you. He snorted coldly. I know. Feng Eo nodded obediently. Above the Absolute in graveyard, thousands of martial practitioners of the Heavenly Sword Mountain, Terminator Sect, Celestial Artifact Sect, and 10,000 Beast Mountain were waiting for Qianlai. 2 hours quickly crept by. Qianlai still hadn't come back from the underground or sent any message to them. They couldn't sense him either. A lot of people thought that he was either endangered and carelessly killed by those evil dragons. Therefore, some of them thought that they shouldn't keep waiting idly like this. They thought that they should either retreat from the Absolute in graveyard or venture into the underground. Just as the crowd grew more and more impatient, he stood up and said, Relax, everyone. I believe that Qianlai is still alive, and that he will come out from the Absolute in graveyard for sure. Elder He, where does your confidence come from? Tu Muo of the 10,000 Beast Mountain exclaimed in surprise. Yeah, he's only at the fulfillment realm. He's not even fit to be grabbed by an evil dragon's claw. How do you know he'll survive? Even some of Heavenly Sword Mountain's martial practitioners had gotten impatient. He had proven his strength all the way up to this point. He exclaimed. Everyone fell silent when he said this. When they looked back carefully, they realized that Qianlai really had given them too much aid. From his actions, they knew that Qianlai wasn't a reckless person. They also knew that he was a calm and clear-headed person who wouldn't risk his life over things that he had little confidence in. Let us wait a while longer. Tu Muo consoled his people. Those fellows who cried out in impatience hesitated only for a moment before they fell quiet and went back to their posts, waiting. Another hour slipped by. When these people started growing impatient again, the evil dragon's roars suddenly rang from underground. Everyone's complexion changed abruptly. War chariots, giant carriages, and spirit birds took to the skies almost instantly, and nearly all of the martial practitioners of the 4 great silver rank forces had taken out their spirit artifacts again in preparation for any surprises. Don't attack first. Let us wait until the situation is clear, he hastily said. Crack, crack, crack. The sounds of stones crumbling began ringing from the entrances into the underground of Absolute in graveyard. It was as if giant beasts were slamming into them. The crowd grew anxious and worried. Swoosh! A figure flew out of the hole Luo-chan and the others were guarding. It scared the Heavenly Sword Mountain martial practitioners so much that they nearly attacked. Don't move! It's Qianlai! Du Xiangyang shouted loudly. When those people got over their shock, they noticed that the figure did belong to Qin Lai. Elder He, I've made an agreement with the evil dragons inside the Absolute Ing graveyard. I would like to know if you can take responsibility on behalf of our group? Cried out Qin Lai, standing on the ground and looking up to the crystalline war chariot he was in. Everyone's attention naturally gathered on Qin Lai. Tell me first what it is that you wish to speak. He answered. There is 1 rank 8 evil dragon and 13 rank 7 evil dragons down there. They are willing to help us and kill the 3 ghoul races at Prism Continent. Qin Lai yelled while looking upward. However, they wish that the humans of the Land of Chaos won't pursue them and attempt to kill them in return. He looked deeply at Qin Lai with an odd gleam in his eyes. A moment of silence later, he nodded. I will promise this, but I can only represent the Celestial Artifact Sect. Qin Lai turned to look at the leaders of the other 3 forces. At 10,000 Beast Mountain side, Tu Muo turned to look at an elder with a long goatee. This old man had stayed beside Tianyu without ever leaving her side even once during the entire battle. Naturally, he wasn't among the protectors who joined Qin Lai. His name was Gong Yangsong. He was a peak Nirvana realm martial practitioner, and he was the true person in charge of the group. I can agree to this on behalf of the 10,000 Beast Mountain. Gong Yangsong's voice was ear-piercing and ugly. A lot of people frowned because of this. However, those evil dragons must agree not to create havoc in the Land of Chaos either. All right, Qin Lai nodded. Senior Uncle Chiu? Du Xiangyang and Luochen looked towards a thin, middle-aged man dressed in blue clothes. The man was called Qiu Qingzhu, and he was also a peak Nirvana realm expert. He was the strongest person in this Heavenly Sword Mountain group. Heavenly Sword Mountain is fine with this too. Qiu Qingzhu smiled coolly. I agree to this on behalf of Terminator Sect. The last call was given by Shun Yu of the Terminator Sect. Many seniors of the Terminator Sect nodded slightly at the same time after she spoke. It was obvious that Terminator Sect seniors in this group all acknowledged her status. All right. Qin Lai grew spirited as he stomped the ground and yelled, Come out! Oh. The evil dragon's roars rang from underground as many entrances of the Absolute Ing graveyard exploded. After that, one evil dragon after another looking as black as the night flew into the open while flapping feathered wings that only they possessed. They looked like demons who were charging out of the underground. In the end, a total of 14 evil dragons including Gilbert had flown into the night sky from behind Qin Lai. The stench of blood and tyranny unique to the evil dragons caused many people to pinch their nose and look a little green. When they saw the 14 evil dragons and Qin Lai standing straight as an arrow before them, they all had the strange feeling that these evil dragons listened to no one but Qin Lai. At the center of Prism Continent, more than 5,000 three ghoul races clansmen were scattered across the bone towers of the floating stones. They were observing the battle situation happening above the sky closely. Behind the giant rocks, there were countless densely packed spatial rifts and strange-looking holes that connected directly to the chaotic streams of space. The 500-strong battalion we sent to the Absolute Ing graveyard didn't send any word back to us. The evil dragons there are probably quite difficult to deal with. An old Nirvana realm heaven ghoul said with a dark expression. Beside him, there were dozens of old clansmen of 3 great ghoul races. Almost each of them was at the Nirvana realm. My race was originally doing very well at the Heavenly Calamity continent, but now they'd sank into a stalemate too. It'll be very hard to continue killing humans en masse, an old earth ghoul said. We are doing well at the Heavenly Slaughter continent so far. We haven't encountered too much resistance up to this day, an old blue ghoul said proudly. Let's ignore the Absolute Ing graveyard for now and wait until the battle above the cloud is decided, said another ghoul from the Earth Ghoul race. Amen. I am certain that we will win the battle above the skies. For this battle, we've invested 16 soul altar martial practitioners, 6 of them possessing 3-level soul altars. In fact, Great Sage Butto once attained the Void Realm, and Lord Andrew and Lord Bergson are peak imperishable realm experts who are just one step away from achieving the Void Realm. While Great Sage Butto hasn't recovered properly after returning from the chaotic streams of space, Lord Andrew and Lord Bergson's conditions aren't as bad as his. They never fell off their peak condition, the old blue ghoul yelled. I also believe that the 3 ghoul races will attain the final victory. The Heaven Ghoul race expert who spoke at the beginning also nodded in deep agreement. Therefore, there's no need to bother with the humans who entered this continent too much. There's no need to send anyone else to the Absolute graveyard either. Once the battle in the sky is done, and our soul altar seniors return to us, the evil dragons in the Absolute graveyard and the humans who are operating on our land will be wiped off the surface of Spirit Realm. That's right. We only need to be a little more patient. The 3 ghoul races clansmen knew just how powerful the experts they invested into the battle in the clouds were. They had almost no doubt that they would become the final victor of that battle. The battle of the sky was the battle that would dictate the big picture. Once victory had been decided, the tiny disadvantage they suffered on the ground could be easily overturned. That was why they weren't worried. The next day, when the first ray of morning was cast down on the strange landscape of floating stones, 30 or so 3 ghoul races clansmen were chewing at the arms of human females to recover their strength. Suddenly, anxiety sprung inside their hearts. Before they could react, the blaze imprints that had tortured them for 30,000 years suddenly erupted into life. The blaze imprints suddenly became incredibly clear. Clumps of fire containing many tiny divine characters burned intensely and enveloped them in an instant. The 30 or so ghouls who were flooded by terrifying flames screamed horribly as they attempted to escape the place as soon as possible. Only by putting enough distance between themselves and that cultivator who possessed the Blaze family bloodline would the imprint burn less ferociously. Only then they would have a chance to survive. They knew this very well. That remnant of the Blaze family has come to us. The humans must be attacking us. How dare they come and show their faces here? What foolishness! Get ready to meet them in combat. For a time, the 3 ghoul races clansmen who numbered around 5,000 or so sprung into action as the floating stones, big ships made out of the bones of ancient beasts, and all sorts of other strange flying spirit artifacts took to the skies. 9 out of the 30 or so burning ghouls were at the Nirvana realm. The rest of them were at the Fragmentation realm. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Blaze imprint and the divine characters that were stuck deep inside their bones like maggots burned away at their flesh and blood refined energy while they attempted to run away from Qin Lai. Just like burning trees, their bodies soon became scorched black in color. They continued to fly away from the place. However, the person who flew ahead of everyone else suddenly opened his eyes wide in terrible shock. Roar! A violent and bloodthirsty dragon roar rang from the direction they were escaping to. Then, dozens of evil dragons clad in cold, metallic scales and feathered wings that looked like pairs of sharp broadswords appeared from the distance. The creatures that spanned from tens to more than 100 meters long flew towards them with green eyes that were full of cruel bloodthirst. Kill these filthy beings to the last, Gilbert roared angrily. In next instant, green and black flames, frosty breaths and acid sprays that stretched as long rivers gushed out of the 14 evil dragons' jaws at once. The 30 or so ghouls who were escaping were caught by the dragon breaths, acid spray and terrific flames head-on. Not able to do anything, they instantly died. Eat them all! Gilbert roared and caught some of the 3 ghoul races clansmen between his claws. By now the flames on their bodies were gone as Gilbert devoured them one after another. The other 13 rank 7 evil dragons followed suit and devoured the ghoul clansmen's flesh and blood excitedly while circling the air. Very soon, the group of 30 or so ghoul clansmen vanished into their stomachs. What should we do with those people below, Lord Gilbert? An evil dragon asked using the language of the dragons. We will enter the valley and devour those filthy ghouls to the last. Gilbert roared madly with brandished teeth and claw. These ghouls need to eat a lot of flesh and blood to evolve stronger and earn a true name like us. We have slumbered for far too long in order to survive, and the evolution of the evil dragon race requires much time. Thankfully, the 30,000 years we spent in slumber have met the time requirement, and all we need now is powerful flesh and blood. As long as we can devour sufficient life energy, we may all have the chance to evolve further in the near future. Attack! Kill them all! The 13 evil dragons grew excited. On the other side, the united human army made up of thousands of martial practitioners finally appeared at the land of floating rocks and chaotic space on their spirit birds and spirit artifacts. They actually showed up to die here. Cracks began appearing inside the pupils of an old heaven ghoul man seated on top of a floating stone. Beside him, the dozen or so old heaven ghoul martial practitioners also did the same. In an instant, a terrific spatial ripple broke out from the dense spatial rifts behind the floating stones. A chaotic, distorted, and extremely sharp aura started filling the world and became more and more obvious. ZZZT, ZZZT, ZZZT. Many dazzling spatial rifts erupted from the sky where the humans were gathered like bright blades and swam in every direction. The crystalline war chariots and the 10,000 beast mountain martial practitioners who were on them were instantly cut to pieces by the spatial blades. Get out of the way! Attack! The dark-faced Gong Yangsong flew into the sky like a giant owl. Dark shadows of 1,000 birds. The dark shadows of giant spirit birds covered the sky like the clouds themselves. These shadows became connected to one another and emanated with powerful soul aura. The spatial rifts actually couldn't cut through the areas sealed by the technique like dull blades hitting on plates of iron. The place where Gong Yangsong and the 10,000 beast mountain martial practitioners were no longer affected by the spatial blades. Swish, swish, swish. Boom, boom, boom. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After that, giant hammers of exploding flames, glowing flying swords, icy hooks, heavy giant pillars, discs of exquisite carvings, golden towers glowing with gem-like brilliance, and all sorts of strange high-rank spirit artifacts flew towards the concentrated zones of 3 ghoul races clansmen while dragging brilliant tails of light behind them. All martial practitioners who were at the fragmentation realm or above abandoned their war chariots and jumped into the air, attacking towards the 3 ghoul races behind the spirit artifacts. Seated above the golden-winged Luan, numerous lightnings swiftly joined together to form a lightning web between the 8 slabs of thunderblitz which suspended high above his head. A complicated and amazing-looking spirit diagram was created in the blink of an eye. A ball of dazzling light appeared between Qin Lai's palms and became connected with the lightning web that existed between the 8 thunderblitz with slabs. The formation came to life and transformed the lightning web into a gigantic, booming, profound thunder heart. Qin Lai's soul consciousness suddenly entered the profound thunder heart, and in that instant a miraculous connection between his consciousness, the lightning, and the thunder inside the profound thunder heart was formed. He urged the secret technique that belonged to the forefather Terminator to life. Thump, 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 thump. The profound thunder heart began beating strongly. Countless webs of invisible electricity and thunder spread towards the surrounding while aimed directly at the hearts of the 3 ghoul races clansmen. One after another, the ghouls fell from the sky after their hearts exploded. Kill him! Almost 103 ghoul races clansmen set their sights on Qin Lai and charged towards him in a crazed fashion. However, Baiyu, Tu Muo, He, and many more martial practitioners of the 4 forces had formed a solid barrier around Qin Lai and defended him firmly. The blood battle between races started off right away with a bang. At the same time, the roars of evil dragons rang from behind the 3 ghoul races. The evil dragons charged madly into the fray and circulated the sky under Gilbert's leadership. They continuously slaughtered one ghoul after another. The rank 8 Gilbert was the equivalent of a soul altar expert. The remaining 13 evil dragons were at rank 7. The moment his force showed up, the 3 ghoul races began losing numbers at an accelerated rate. The intense battle lasted for an entire hour. The solid wall surrounding Qin Lai was never broken by the 3 ghoul races clansmen. In fact, every last one of the 3 ghoul races several hundred meters away from Qin Lai was killed instead. Even further away from Qin Lai, at least 503 ghoul races clansmen had died to the profound thunder heart. Nearly 1,000 ghoul clansmen were killed and devoured by the 14 evil dragons. Retreat! We must retreat to the chaotic streams of space or the underground and wait until the battle of the sky has ended. The three ghoul races experts cried out after noticing that the battle was growing more and more one-sided. And so the Heaven Ghoul race and Blue Ghoul race escaped to the chaotic streams of space side by side. The Earth Ghoul clansmen slipped underground and vanished immediately. The three ghoul races clansmen had no choice but to escape back to the chaotic streams of space after realizing that their people were dying and that they couldn't achieve victory. The Earth Ghoul clansmen slipped to the underground. 1,000 or so three ghoul race corpses littered every corner of the mountain range. Since these ghouls didn't possess much outstanding spirit artifacts, the martial practitioners of the four forces didn't waste time trying to loot from their bodies. One might say they cared nothing for their bodies at all. On the other hand, the 14 evil dragons kept circling the sky and devouring the corpses of the three ghoul races clansmen whenever they could find them. There are more than 1,000 ghoul corpses. We will have a feast, Lord Gilbert. These energetic bodies will be enough to restore our strength. Do eat to your heart's content, everyone. The flying evil dragon conversed excitedly through the language of dragons as they devoured the ghoul corpses. Back at the humans, the crowd had gathered once more to stare at the spatial rifts behind the floating stones. These floating stones came from the chaotic streams of space, and they floated in the air as if they were unaffected by the gravity of spirit realm. Behind the floating stones, they could see many dark passages leading towards who knows where behind the intersecting spatial rifts. If only we can destroy these spatial rifts and block the passages they came from, that would save us a lot of energy. He said while looking at the crowd. Is there anyone here who's well versed in the power of space and is confident that they can shatter these spatial passages? No one among the four forces spoke up as they revealed helpless looks on their faces. A while later, Heavenly Sword Mountain's Qiu Qingzhu said, "Perhaps Xianxia is the only martial practitioner who can detonate these naturally occurring chaotic streams of space and block off all the passages behind them." The crowd fell silent. The amount of land of chaos martial practitioners who were well versed in the power of space were few to begin with, and those who reached the level of imperishable realm and was strong enough to build spatial tunnels like the great sages of the Heaven Ghoul race were even fewer. Xianxia was among the very few people who might be able to achieve such a thing. However, Xianxia was a loner who didn't fall under any force's control. Naturally, he couldn't possibly show up here. Luo Han of Celestial Artifact Sect was very familiar with the power of space, but his research was focused on the construction of teleportation formations. He probably wasn't very familiar with naturally occurring spatial tunnels that appeared without the need of spirit formations or spirit materials like these two. This was without mentioning that Luo Han wasn't even here to begin with. It's useless. We can't change anything even if we destroyed them. Qin Lai suddenly interrupted and looked at the sky. He frowned while explaining. As long as those Heaven Ghoul great sages aren't all dead, they will always be able to get unclog the tunnels someday or create a new one. Everyone nodded slightly after hearing his answer. They knew that Qin Lai was right. Budo of the Heaven Ghoul race possessed a 3-level soul altar, and he once stood at the Void Realm, not to mention that his race was naturally familiar with the power of space. Therefore, it wouldn't be a problem to Budo to open a new spatial passage to Spirit Realm at all. The Earth Ghoul race who can hide underground is even more difficult to deal with. He looked regretful when he said this. It is their racial talent, and it definitely makes them very difficult to deal with. Qiu Qingzhu shook his head slightly. While the crowd was conversing to each other, the evil dragons led by Gilbert were still enjoying their feast and devouring the bodies of the three ghoul races clansmen. Qin Lai noticed that a tremendous amount of energy and blood energy were gathering inside the evil dragon's body after they fed on their enemies' bodies. It was obvious that the evil dragons also possessed the original powers of a giant dragon, and they were able to digest the living beings they consumed directly to obtain strength from their powerful flesh. He also noticed that the gleam inside the evil dragon's pupils were growing more and more intimidating as the evil dragons fed more and more. He knew that the 14 evil dragons were growing more and more stronger. In this regard, they were completely identical to the 8 god corpses who devoured the bodies of martial practitioners to recover too. He himself ate the dried meat of spirit beasts to relieve his body's fatigue and enliven his bloodline powers. The concept was the same. It's probably the instinct of all powerful ancient races to consume food to replenish their energy and blood. Unfortunately, the human race do not possess great digestive abilities. Therefore, they are unable to strengthen and temper their flesh and blood swiftly through consumption. Enlightenment appeared in Qianlai's mind. We shouldn't stay here any longer. A while later, He said loudly, the soul altar experts of the three ghoul races will return once the battle of the sky has ended. If our own soul altar experts did not follow them, we will die here in a very short time. That's right. It's better if we leave now that the battle has ended. Tu Muo agreed. Let us split up then, Qiu Qingzhu exclaimed. The four great forces quickly came to mutual understanding and took to the skies once more in war chariots, giant carriages, and spirit birds. Qianlai, will you be interested in coming with us and negotiating about some matters in the future? Luo Kursin invited him first. He, Baiyu, and everyone else were wearing smiles on their faces too. Feng Eo aside, he had to admit that Celestial Artifact Sect martial practitioners had been well-mannered. They also looked like they would like to build a deeper relationship with him. All right. Qianlai accepted the invitation easily. Then please come with us. The crystalline war chariot Luo Kursin was on floated towards him. Senior Sister Shun, I'll be returning together with Celestial Artifact Sect. Qianlai said. Be careful. Xinyu nodded but didn't say anything more. Allow me to talk with the evil dragons for a minute. Qianlai motioned for Luo Kursin to wait a moment before heading to where Gilbert was and called out to them. Gilbert was currently tearing into the ghoul's flesh and blood excitedly as blood dripped all over its mouth. The evil dragon with a true name actually looked reluctant to move away from its food after hearing Qianlai's summons. What is it? Gilbert flew over as its giant shadow loomed over Qianlai. It said impatiently in the language of dragons. If there's nothing else, then stop bothering me from my food. I don't have too much time to waste on you. It is best if you leave Prism Continent as soon as possible. Once the battle on the sky has ended, the soul altar experts of the three ghoul races will return for sure. Qianlai pondered for a moment before adding, also, there are a lot of human soul altar experts up there. I cannot guarantee that those fellows will obey the promise and don't attempt to hunt you. The three ghoul races' bodies may not attract humans, but the same cannot be said about you dragons. According to my knowledge, all dragons are a treasure trove of precious spirit materials, and every one of them are rare even in auctions. I dare say that a living, breathing dragon is only rarer. We will leave after we feed for a moment longer. Gilbert snorted in response. All right. Qianlai nodded and said nothing else. He turned around and climbed up Luo Kursin's crystalline war chariot. And so, the four silver forces of Heavenly Sword Mountain, Celestial Artifact Sect, 10,000 Beast Mountain, and Terminator Sect parted ways and escaped from Prism Continent through four different directions. He, Baiyu, and Luo Kursin were all sitting inside Luo Kursin's crystalline war chariot. Feng Eo was excluded from the party. I can ask my grandfather to build a high-rank item teleportation formation on your Gray Island. After that, both our sects can cooperate fully with each other. Gray Island may purchase any spirit materials they lack from Celestial Artifact Sect, and I guarantee that we can provide you what Illusory Demon Sect can or cannot provide you either. Luo Kursin was full of confidence when she said this. You should know that no one has greater spirit material resources than our Celestial Artifact Sect, on the land of chaos at least. I believe you. Qianlai nodded. We are very interested in the ancient spirit diagrams. Luo Kursin suddenly said. He and Baiyu's eyes lit up slightly as they stared deeply at him. What they said earlier was Celestial Artifact Sect's conditions. The ancient spirit diagrams was just too attractive to an artificer, and Celestial Artifact Sect was made up of an entire group of artificers. A spirit diagram was the heart and soul of a spirit artifact. It was the root of all artifacts that determined the final grade and quality of a spirit artifact. An ancient spirit diagram was rumored to be the product of those cultivators who had seen through the world's true laws and principles and inscribed them in imitation of the changes of seasons, the evolution of all things, the orbit of stars and other laws of nature. Every spirit diagram that existed today were simplified versions of the ancient spirit diagram. It was also rumored that the current spirit diagram could only affect a spirit artifact, while the ancient spirit diagram of an ancient artificer could affect a lot more things. The most powerful ancient artificer could conjure unimaginable power through the ancient spirit diagrams and even alter the laws of the world themselves, creating many seemingly impossible miracles. Just the same, ancient spirit diagrams sat at the heart of an ancient artificer's strength. It was said that it could improve an artificer's realm and temper their body too. As the strongest artificer force on the land of chaos, Celestial Artifact Sect knew a lot about the ancient spirit diagrams. Therefore, the moment they realized that Xianxia was connected to Grey Island's knowledge of the ancient spirit diagram, they immediately made up their minds to trade for his knowledge and secrets of the ancient spirit diagrams at all cost. You guys want the ancient spirit diagrams? Xianxia broke into an involuntary laugh. Everyone in Celestial Artifact Sect nodded hopefully in response. Impossible! Xianxia shook his head and turned down the request immediately. We can talking just about anything but the ancient spirit diagrams. The reason Grey Island was able to make a name for themselves on the land of chaos in just 2 years' time was because of the blazing profound bombs, and sitting at the heart of the blazing profound bomb was none other than the ancient spirit diagrams themselves. Although he seemed to have won all 4 forces' recognition and regard through the profound thunder heart, his true reliance was in fact the ancient spirit diagrams. Without the ancient spirit diagram, he wouldn't have been able to create a composite spirit diagram using the lightning inside the 8 slabs Thunderblitz would as the veins of the network. In the past, he didn't realize just how precious the ancient spirit diagrams were. But now he did. Therefore, when he discovered that Celestial Artifact Sect's true aim was the ancient spirit diagrams he possessed, he turned them down without a second thought. On the war chariot, He Baiyu and Luo Kursin of Celestial Artifact Sect suddenly fell silent. Xianxia stood tall with a resolute look on his face. He didn't plan to give even an inch of ground in regard to the ancient spirit diagrams. The ancient spirit diagram might be precious, but our friendship is just as rare. A while later, a gleam passed through He's eyes as he said leisurely, Celestial Artifact Sect can aid Grey Island in dealing with their troubles and cooperate in absolute good faith, helping them swiftly accumulate a great amount of strength. In fact, we plan to become allies with Grey Island. We can even promise you to send experts to help Grey Island fight against the illusory demon sect after you clashed against one another. But Xianxia shook his head once more. He's expression turned dark. Luo Kursin sighed. Tell us, what will it take for you to accept sharing the ancient spirit diagram with us? I told you earlier, anything but the ancient spirit diagrams are up to negotiations. Xianxia didn't waver. Celestial Artifact Sect's expression grew uglier and uglier. We know a little something about you. Luo Kursin switched to a different method of persuasion and frowned. The demon sealing tombstone is not the only reason you are able to detect the outsider's movements beforehand, ignite their imprints and negotiate with the evil dragons. The gleam in Xianxia's eyes abruptly grew fierce. You have the blood of the heaven-fighting race inside you, Luo Kursin said word by word. This is your suspicion? What foolishness! What proof do you have? Xianxia snorted coldly. The graveyard of gods is a place of trial where the heaven-fighting race uses to temper their descendants. Moreover, the demon-sealing tombstone can only be used by someone who possesses the bloodline of the heaven-fighting race. Luo Kursin continued. We have sufficient evidence to prove that you possess the heaven-fighting race's bloodline. You should know very well what the heaven-fighting race means to a lot of people, including some of the races on the land of chaos, don't you? If you're willing to cooperate with us, we'll hide this fact for you and guarantee that it won't be revealed, he expressed. But if you aren't willing to cooperate with us, then we will expose you after the war with the 3 ghoul races have ended. Luo Kursin steeled herself and threatened Xianxia. Xianxia's face darkened as he nodded. In that case, do your worst. Once he said this, he took out his own crystalline war chariot from his spatial ring and left Celestial Artifact Sect. Elder He, did the negotiations fail? Not far away. Feng Eo drove his own crystalline war chariot over and asked hastily after he saw Qin Lai leaving with a dark expression on his face. What do we do now? Should we make him stay? A Nirvana realm martial practitioner with an aquiline nose voiced the question anxiously at He. Bai Yu and Luo Kursin were also hesitating. They all knew Qin Lai's weakness. After all, Qin Lai was only at the fulfillment realm. It took sizable amount of time to deploy the 8 slabs of Thunderblitz wood and amplify the profound Thunder Heart strength through the ancient spirit diagram. Taking out the Thunderblitz would took time, inscribing the ancient spirit diagram took time, and even activating the profound Thunder Heart took time too. In the meantime, if any fragmentation realm expert were to disrupt any step of the process, Qin Lai wouldn't be able to resist them. This was not to mention that Celestial Artifact Sex Group had 8 Nirvana realm experts right now. Therefore, it would take next to no effort at all to capture Qin Lai if they wished so. Elder He. Everyone's gazes became focused on He. They waited for him to come to a decision. Qin Lai is backed by old monster Nan. He frowned deeply. Moreover, we are currently fighting against the 3 ghoul races. If we attack him and trigger a war between Celestial Artifact Sect and Terminator Sect, the consequences will be unimaginable. If we missed out on this opportunity, we may not be able to suppress him any longer. The restless expert with an aquiline nose exclaimed. Let me think for a little while longer. He couldn't make up his mind immediately. However, their faces suddenly changed at this moment. Riding alone on his crystalline war chariot, a strange, long roar suddenly cut through the sky just after Qin Lai had put some distance between him and Celestial Artifact Sect, while flying away from Prism Continent. The roar had a strange penetrating quality that allowed it to grow louder the further it spread. Not long after the roar had resounded, another evil dragon roar shook the skies from afar. The 13 evil dragons led by Gilbert didn't know where to go after leaving the center of Prism Continent. Before they knew it, they chased Qin Lai's scent and flew towards him. In reality, they never moved far away from Qin Lai. From the connection built between the blaze imprint in Gilbert's pupils and his bloodline, Qin Lai was able to sense their rough locations. Therefore, he had summoned Gilbert through his secret art immediately after retreating from Celestial Artifact Sect. Although Gilbert wasn't willing to comply to the call, he still responded with a dragon cry and rushed over with his clansmen. Before the Celestial Artifact Sect group could react, the 14 evil dragons had appeared from the distant clouds. Gilbert quickly appeared beside Qin Lai as he roared impatiently. What did you summon me for again? You guys can't stay at Prism Continent. Do you have a destination in mind? Qin Lai asked carelessly. Gilbert snorted coldly in response. I'm thinking. Just save the thought and come with me. I can find you a place to stay. Qin Lai offered the invitation first. At the very least, I won't try to harm you all. Also, I'm the only one you can trust in this world. Am I not? So what? The evil dragon said in dissatisfaction. If you're with me, I can negotiate with the humans on your behalf if you ran into some troubles. Qin Lai said sincerely. You are so weak. How can you possibly help us? The evil dragon didn't believe him. I have my own methods. Come with me if you think you trust me. Qin Lai continued to persuade him. We have nowhere to go for now, so we may as well come with you. After thinking carefully for a moment, Gilbert realized that he actually didn't have a second choice in mind. In the end, he agreed to Qin Lai's proposal. Don't worry. Soon you'll realize that this is the best decision you've made in your life. Qin Lai grinned. Wait a moment, will you? I'm gonna chat just a bit more with those people. Qin Lai went back to the Celestial Artifact Sect group and stopped a short distance away from them. He looked at He and everyone from a distance and taunted. What's wrong? Planning to restrain me by force. Celestial Artifact Sect's martial practitioners both felt embarrassed and helpless at the thrown question. Qin Lai, we sincerely do want to work with you. Luo Kursin forced a smile. So your sincerity involves threats when a negotiation has failed, is that it? And if threats don't work, you restrain the other party forcefully, is that what you're telling me? Qin Lai sneered with a dark expression. What would happen if I was restrained by you? I wonder? I'm guessing you would use the memory fragment crystal to extract my memories and rob me of everything relating to the ancient spirit diagrams. Am I right? Everyone in Celestial Artifact Sect was silent when they heard this. It was true that a lot of them thought the same way. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Qianlai continued to ridicule them. At first, I thought that Celestial Artifact Sect is worth talking to, but as it turns out you don't deserve it at all. The forefather is very right in that artificers are a bunch of treacherous and shameless bastards. The Celestial Artifact Sect group grew more and more embarrassed. See you later. He returned to where the 14 evil dragons were after throwing down these words. None of the Celestial Artifact Sect experts dared to do anything as they watched him leave. Gilbert was an evil dragon with a true name, and its power was comparable to that of a soul altar expert. Considering that he had another 13 rank 7 evil dragons under his command, Gilbert's forces were only stronger than their own. They dared not take the risk, so they could only watch Qianlai leave. Let's go. Qianlai's crystalline war chariot stopped behind Gilbert's neck. He wore a dark look on his face. The 14 evil dragons conversed with each other using the language of dragons while flying away from Prism Continent. After they built up speed, it took them only 2 hours to leave the continent. Over there. Qianlai pointed at a new direction after they left Prism Continent. The evil dragons continued to fly and interact excitedly with each other. It was the middle of noon, and the sun was supposed to be blazing brightly. However, thick, multicolored clouds hid the sun completely from view. From time to time, terrifying energy would ripple out of the clouds and cause the living beings below to feel as if they couldn't breathe. Are those soul altar beings all fighting up in the sky? Gilbert looked up to the sky. He couldn't help but look up after he noticed that shocking tremors coming occasionally from it. Qianlai copied its movements and answered, "It's been going on for a while now. We have to leave this place as soon as possible," Gilbert yelled. The group of evil dragons sped up and flew faster down the path Qianlai had pointed without needing him to urge them. Qianlai left together with the evil dragon. Boom! Deep inside the clouds, a shocking boom and a vast burst of energy that felt like the collapse of the galaxy itself rippled down from the sky. Gilbert came to a stop, and even Qianlai was looking up to the sky with a dark expression on his face. Bright rivers of light that were tens of thousands meters long and thousands of meters wide crisscrossed the sky and tore at the space they were sitting at. A dazzling ball of light sat at the point where the rivers of light intersected, refracting into innumerable rays of brilliant divine light. A figure fell down from the ball of light like a meteor and was pierced by the rays until they were full of holes. The soul altar shattered under the attack. The figure fell from the sky. Qianlai focused his thoughts to learn who the falling person was, but he was unable to distinguish if they were a human or a ghoul. "Is it a human or a ghoul?" Qianlai said solemnly. The evil dragon Gilbert shot out a pair of green light nearly 100 meters long from its green eyes. Many dragonic characters and symbols appeared from the green light. It contained a power that could see through the knowledge of the world. It was the dragon race's secret art, true decipherment of sky dragons. The dragon uses its breath, eyes, and language to decipher the world and pry into its secrets. It is a human. Gilbert observed the falling figure while looking a little surprised. His soul altar had exploded, and his soul was cut into many pieces and extracted into many different unknown spaces. It is highly unlikely that his soul can reunite once more. So you mean that they're dead? Qianlai's expression changed. More or less, yes, Gilbert answered. Qianlai grew worried. The battle on the sky decided the big picture of the war between the human race and the 3 ghoul races. If the soul altar experts of the 4 silver forces couldn't defeat the old ghouls of the 3 ghoul races, the enemy would definitely earn more time to recuperate. If the 3 ghoul races were given more time, they would be able to recover faster and become even harder to deal with later on. The fact that a human soul altar expert had fallen from the sky meant that the human race didn't manage to obtain a decisive advantage over the enemy. It made the future a lot more unpredictable as a result. Bang! Another 2 violent explosions that looked as bright as the sun came from the clouds. After the explosions had ended, Two obvious black holes appeared in the sky. The moment the black hole withdrew unto itself, the fragments, soul thoughts, and blood traces caused by the explosions were instantly absorbed into it. Xianxia turned pale with shock again. Two soul altar experts had killed each other. Great fear appeared in Gilbert's eyes. We should leave as soon as possible. Xianxia instinctively felt that the situation was bad too. From his observation of the battle on the sky, he realized that the human race might not necessarily be able to gain the advantage of the battle. If the human race couldn't win, it would be pointless for him to return to the heavenly silence continent. Moreover, he might run into many unexpected variables along the way. Moreover, he was worried that Celestial Artifact Sect would reveal the truth of his bloodline. The revelation might cause Heavenly Sword Mountain and 10,000 Beast Mountain to birth malicious thoughts. The fact that soul altar experts were dying one after another meant that the battle of the sky was nearing its end. Perhaps the result might even be decided in the next moment. Truly was unwise to stay here any longer. Let's change directions, he suddenly yelled. Where to? Gilbert said urgently. Over there. Xianxia pointed at another path. The path strayed away from Prism Continent and the Heavenly Silence Continent. It was where he came from at the beginning. It was where the Setting Sun Islands were. He was going to return back to his home immediately. He had did everything he could to heavily damage the three ghoul races during the battle on the ground. He had forced the Heaven Ghoul race and the Blue Ghoul race back into the chaotic streams of space and the Earth Ghoul race into the underground. He had did everything he could possibly do to aid with the tides of war. The battle of the sky was too distant for him right now, and even if his presence could cause the old ghouls who were marked with the blaze imprints some trouble, it still wasn't enough to decide the outcome of the battle. Although the blaze imprint could burn all Nirvana Realm and Fragmentation Realm 3 ghoul race clansmen to death, the same couldn't be said about soul altar level ghouls. Judging from the current situation, it would appear that the battle of the sky was about to end. Moreover, Xianxia was the #1 target the three ghoul races were sure to target the moment they were free. He needed to leave this place as soon as he could. Understood. Gilbert called out to his clansmen using the dragon's language and caused the group to change directions. They transformed into beams of light and flew away from the battlefield at top speed. Half a day later, Xianxia and the evil dragon had gone far, far away from Prism Continent completely. 3 days later, Xianxia was no longer within Terminator Sect's boundaries. Xianxia and the evil dragons continued to fly towards the ruined lands. He didn't know that the battle of the sky above Prism Continent had ended the day after he left Prism Continent. In this battle, on the side of the human race, for soul altar martial practitioners were killed while another 5 suffered grievous injuries. Among them, the forefather Terminator Nanjungtian, Su Ran, Qi Yang, and Yen Bai were among the grievously wounded. On the side of the three ghoul races, 3 soul altar experts were killed while another 6 suffered grievous injuries. The human race and the 3 ghoul races ultimately failed to end the war with this battle. The reason both sides agreed to cease fighting was because they knew that they might all die if the battle were to continue. In the end, the 3 ghoul races' soul altar experts tore a passage in space and went back to Prism Continent in hiding. The human soul altar experts also gave up on attacking Prism Continent further and retreated immediately. The soul altar experts of 10,000 Beast Mountain, Heavenly Sword Mountain, Illusory Demon Sect, and Celestial Artifact Sect immediately went back to their respective sects through spatial teleportation formations after the battle. Illusory Demon Sect was busy trying to suppress the blue ghouls invading the Heavenly Slaughter Continent. 10,000 Beast Mountain, Heavenly Sword Mountain, and Celestial Artifact Sect also had to recuperate for a moment because their soul altar experts were grievously injured and had returned to the sect to recover via secret arts. The bloody battle between the human race and the 3 ghoul races on Prism Continent had ended for now, but the battles on the Heavenly Slaughter Continent and the Heavenly Calamity Continent was still as fierce as ever. On a huge black iron ship, Nanjungtian, Su Ran, Tong Jinjin, Lei Yen, Shin Kuei, Shin Yu and many more high-ranking officials of the Terminator sect were all gathered in one place. Forefather Terminator was currently caked in blood, and his messy hair was completely shaved. There seemed to be many tiny cracks on top of his bald head, and the cracks were sparkling with both electricity and the sharp auras of space. Su Ran was leaning against Tong Jinjin and smiling wryly with a pale face. Lei Yen was also hanging his head dispiritedly. Cough, cough. The moment Lei Yen started speaking, large amounts of blood immediately bubbled from inside his mouth. He had to spit them all out and smack his lips a few times before he could speak clearly. But oh, Matthew Andrew Bergson. These old ghouls are seriously strong. Fearful respect appeared in Lei Yan's eyes. No one could predict that they still had so much strength even though they spent 30,000 years in exile at the chaotic streams of space, some unknown auxiliary worlds or dark lands. If old Monster Nan hadn't held that Butto and Andrew back on his own, we might have lost horribly. Su Ran sighed. You're pretty good yourself, Boss Su. I thought that you would have a one-level soul altar at best. But Lei Yen looked full of praise. You single-handedly kept that Matthew in one place. You're just as impressive as you were back then. Qiyong, Yen Baiyu, Luo Nan, and Feng Yi are pretty strong too. Su Ran added. Without their aid, there was no way Terminator Sect could have taken on so many enemy soul altar experts alone. How goes the battle on the ground? A tiny bit of sharp spatial energy was sparkled around Nanjungtian's chest the moment he spoke. He careless crushed it to nothingness with his hand. We won the so-called final victory on the ground. We lost about 500 to 600 people, but the three ghoul races lost almost 2,000. Under everyone's gaze, Xinyu announced the battle results first after she straightened her expression. Then, she carefully explained everything that happened on the ground. With the 8 slabs of Thunderblitz Wood as foundation and lightning as the formation, Qin Lai created a gigantic, profound thunder heart to kill the ghoul race clansmen en masse? Is this true? Su Ran exclaimed. You mean he also spurred the 14 evil dragons to action and aid you in killing the 3 ghoul race clansmen? Lei Yen was also shocked. Tong Jinjin and Lin Lianger's eyes were sparkling at the news. Lin Lianger never left Tong Jinjin's side after the battle had begun. This didn't change even after the battle had ended. It would appear that we are incomparable to this kid. Nanjungtian curled his lips into a savage grin. We failed to kill those old ghouls and obtain victory in the battle of the sky. But that kid still won us the battle of the ground. Haha. I'll take a victory and a draw. Why not? He sounded pretty happy as he said this. Where is he? Su Ran asked concernedly. He was tricked away by the people of Celestial Artifact Sect to discuss a business of sorts. He hasn't returned along with us. Xinyu curled her lips. Celestial Artifact Sect? Lei Yan's expression changed. But I hadn't seen that kid with Celestial Artifact Sect after I came down to the ground with Feng Yi. He's not with Celestial Artifact Sect? Su Ran's expression changed as he said urgently, the 3 ghoul races are certain to think ill of Qin Lai, because his bloodline causes great agony all ghoul experts who was marked by the Blaze imprint. Just the same, the ghoul experts are able to sense his location within a certain range. Elder Shin, please contact Celestial Artifact Sect personally and inquire about Qin Lai's current location. Nan Jingtian said solemnly. Got it. Shen Kuei took out a mirror and contacted Celestial Artifact Sect using a special soul thought. Everyone was looking at him. A while later, Shen Kuei frowned deeply and said, he said that Qin Lai had left with the 14 evil dragons. Evil dragons? Lei Yen looked surprised. Then evil dragon with a true name is probably at rank 8. The remaining 13 dragons are also at rank 7. Xin Yu explained. Qin Lai possesses the bloodline of the Heaven Fighting race, and the evil dragons are the Heaven Fighting race most loyal dogs. I think he'll be fine. Tong Jinjin spoke up. I'm not worried that the evil dragons will harm him. I'm worried that those old ghouls would send out 1 or 2 of their soul altar experts to search for him all over the place. Su Ran frowned deeply. All the old ghouls of the heavenly ghoul race are experts in the power of space, and among them too are only mildly injured. If they left Prism Continent to hunt after Qin Lai, he won't be safe anywhere within a radius of 10,000 kilometers. He hasn't came over to us, so I'm guessing that he either departed for the Heavenly Silence Continent or the Setting Sun Islands. Xin Yu ventured a guess. I need to recuperate in seclusion, so it will be better if he stays away from the Heavenly Silence continent for now. Xianxia frowned deeply. Elder Shin, please contact Heavenly Sword Mountain and tell them that Qinlai is not with us. Tell them to inform Li Mu on Qinlai's latest movements. We won't need to worry for Qinlai once Li Mu learns of this. Su Ran said. All right. Shin Kuei nodded. What? We didn't get the final victory during the Battle of Prism Continent? The Heaven Ghoul clansmen ultimately retreated to safety. At Heavenly Sword Mountain, Wang En's, Zhu Xiang, and Yen Dong, 3 of the 5 Heavenly Swords had just received the latest news while they were in a meeting. The thinly built Wang En's dressed in green clothes wore an obvious look of astonishment on his face. He seemed incapable of accepting this outcome for a time. Bai is hurt, the short and fat Yen Dong said. Even Yen Bai is hurt? Wang En's expression turned severe. Luo Nan is currently on her way back. She also sent back a message asking us to inform Li Mu about this, Yen Dong said. Wang En's pondered for a couple of seconds before nodding. Do it. Okay. At the Setting Sun Islands, the members of Blood Fiend sects such as Lingya, Hong Bowen, and Mo Jun, along with the members of the Setting Sun Islands such as Xianxia, Mo Hai and Tang Siki were all gathered in one place. The fat Hong Bowen reported the latest news to everyone with a heavy face. The human race did not obtain an overwhelming victory during the Battle of Prism Continent. Right now, the 3 ghoul races are holed up inside Prism Continent and recuperating, while the 5 great silver rank forces have went back to their respective sects to recuperate too. In this battle, the human race lost 4 soul altar experts in total. Some, including Nan Zhengtian himself, were severely injured. At Heavenly Calamity Continent, the Earth Ghoul race's rampage killed many of the 3 great families' clansmen. Black Voodoo Cult has already sent over a soul altar martial practitioner to suppress them. The Heavenly Slaughter continent closest to us is embroiled in war too. It was said that Skyflame has lost nearly all of their experts. The big picture of the Land of Chaos have been changed drastically by the 3 ghoul races. This time, the war situation is much worse than the time the Azura race invaded the Land of Chaos. Hong Bowen sighed deeply with dark eyes. All of the Blood Fiend 10 elders wore very heavy expression on their faces. They all felt anxious on the inside. Big Brother Shui is still in seclusion. It is said that his current strength is almost at the level of a 1-level soul altar martial practitioner. Mo Jun suddenly said, It's not enough. It's far from enough. Hong Bowen shook his head. At the Setting Sun Islands, Song Tingyu frowned slightly as she asked, Are we still unable to form a new deal with Illusory Demon Sect? Hong Bowen smiled wryly. Sure, Xiuling is the person in charge of this matter. But she hasn't replied me at all even though I tried to contact her many times. Have we heard anything from Terminator Sect? Song Tingyu asked again. Hong Bowen shook his head. Nothing so far. Everyone's expression was heavy. Don't worry. I will think of a way in these 2 days regarding the spirit materials necessary to refine the blazing profound bombs. Mo Lingya consoled the members of the Setting Sun Islands. Illusory Demon Sect probably didn't have the time to deal with us right now, considering that those blue ghoul clansmen are causing havoc on their lands. Thankfully, the Setting Sun Islands are pretty far away from Skyflame. Meng Feng sneered. Elder Hong, please communicate with Terminator Sect as frequently as you can. We must figure out where Qinlai has gone to. Mo Lingya instructed. Understood. Everyone, please do your best to increase your strength. For now, it doesn't look like peace will be visiting the Land of Chaos anytime soon, and I don't think that will be an exception to the rule. I am worried that those 3 ghoul races clansmen will eventually roam into our territory. So everyone must prepare ahead of time. Amen. Please refrain from operating outside for now, everyone. Let's do our best to preserve our strength. Mo Jun said. The news that the human race and the 3 ghoul races had failed to decide the war with that one battle spread to every corner of the world in just a short time. Every copper, black iron, and limestone rank force across all the continents of the Land of Chaos was terrified and worried. This matter was on everyone's lips. The Battle of Prism Continent barely ended before war broke out once more at the Heavenly Slaughter Continent and the Heavenly Calamity Continent, drawing many people's attention. For a time, the price of great sect protecting formations grew by leaps and bounds at many auction markets. Powerful and deadly spirit artifacts were especially favored by many forces, and the blazing profound bomb was only more expensive than ever before. The outside threat prompted every force in the land of chaos sought to improve their strength as swiftly as possible and great sect protecting formations to defend their lands. Everyone on the land of chaos was feeling threatened by the three great ghoul races. However, far, far away towards the sea, there was a place that remained calm despite receiving the news the outsider races were rampaging across the land of chaos just the same. This place was the Ruined Lands. The Ruined Lands was a place that was free from the rule of the silver rank forces. The population of foreign races on this land was in fact bigger than the human race. The strayed evil spirits and cruel foreign races living in the Ruined Lands weren't interested in the three ghoul races and thus felt nothing regarding their return. After all, the evil spirits and foreign races living in the Ruined Lands had all kinds of ways to leave spirit realm. Therefore, they weren't worried that the three ghoul races' arrival might change the bigger picture of spirit realm. They didn't think that the war between the three ghoul races and the human race had anything to do with them either. The land of chaos, in fact, the entire spirit realm, was currently dominated by the human race. The three ghoul races' appearance in spirit realm would definitely threaten the human race's interest, so conflict was only natural. Things were different in the Ruined Lands, however. Most of the evil spirits and foreign races living in the Ruined Lands had no relations with the human race whatsoever. Some had been even oppressed by the human race before. Therefore, the war between the three ghoul races and the human race would only gladden them. We're almost there. Standing atop Gilbert's incredibly wide back, Qianlai looked at the islands at the distant horizon, while a cold gleam flitted across his narrowed eyes. What is that place at the front? Gilbert was obviously a little surprised. I sense a lot of strange auras that seem to belong to many different races. Some of these auras actually made me feel both familiar and disgusted at the same time. The lands before us are called the Ruined Lands. It is a place where many evil spirits and foreign races had entrenched themselves in. The lizard race and dragonman race are there too. Did their auras disgust you? Qianlai asked. Dragonman race? Gilbert snorted. It's an ugly spawn that resulted from the messy procreation of your dragon race. Qianlai answered with a frown. It must be the work of those giant dragons who pose themselves as the true dragon race. Gilbert's green eyes sparkled with an evil gleam. I hate everything that has the giant dragon race's stench on it. Oh, that's very good. I don't like the dragonman race either. Qianlai grinned. While the duo was conversing, the group of evil dragons flew past the borders of the Ruined Lands and went deeper into the place. Beneath them, there were many islands where all kinds of evil spirits and foreign races had entrenched themselves in. However, none of these evil spirits or foreign races dared to let even a fart loose while Gilbert and the 13 evil dragons were flying across their domain. It was a completely different sight from the time Qianlai was hunted all over the place. The Grey Wing race, the Dragonman race, and the Merfolk race were all looking up to the sky from their respective islands. When they noticed that the creatures flying across their heads were evil dragons, everyone broke into involuntary cries. They're evil dragons. God damn it. Why are there evil dragons here? Are my eyes fooling me? Why is a group of evil dragons showing their faces in broad daylight? For a time, the evil spirits and foreign races on the islands were shocked to the core. Seated on Gilbert's back, Qianlai continued to lead the 14 evil dragons wantonly across the Ruined Lands until they arrived at Seven Eye Island. By now, the rich nether demonic energy that used to fill every corner of the Seven Eye Island had become incredibly thin. Many lizardmen and dragonmen could be seen operating on the island, plucking its fruits and unique spirit herbs for their own uses. Kill all of the lizard men and dragon men on this island. Qianlai frowned at the sight and said, You and your people can live here temporarily after they're all killed. All right. Gilbert then laid down an order using the dragon's language. The 13 evil dragons roared and pounced towards their enemies. After the seven-eyed monster Lapu had left Seven-Eye Island, the island was taken over by the lizard race and the dragonman race. They started excavating the resources on the island for themselves. Qianlai had never forgotten the fact that Gu Tuo and Qi Yan had nearly killed him back at Frost Island, and forced Lapu to abandon his Seven-Eye Island. Now that he had returned to the ruined lands with 14 evil dragons by his side, he couldn't find any reason to play nice with them. The lizard men and dragon men operating on Seven-Eye Island weren't very strong, so they were swiftly annihilated by the 13 evil dragons. "Stop! I am a subordinate of Lord Gu Tuo. How dare you kill our people wantonly in the ruined lands? Have you lost your minds?" An angry voice rang from the outer edge of Seven-Eye Island. A stalwart dragon man could be seen rushing towards them with a savage look on his face. "Oh, it's Qing Luo. Long time no see." Qianlai let out a long laugh. "Who are you?" Qing Luo asked in puzzlement. Qianlai was dumbfounded for a moment before he remembered to take out the fox skin mask and plant it on his face. "Do you remember me now? Yao Tian? You're Yao Tian!" Qing Luo screamed. Qing Luo was clearly surprised. A half-year ago, Gu Tuo and Qi Yan had teamed up in an attempt to capture Qianlai alive and seize the god race blood inside him. At the crucial moment, Forefather Dark Wind interfered and suddenly took Qianlai and Lapu's side. He stopped Gu Tuo and Qi Yan. Because of that, Qianlai and Lapu could flee from Frost Island. After that, Gu Tuo and Qi Yan repeatedly caused trouble for Dark Wind. The Dragonman race and the Lizard race sent many clansmen to roam around the ruined lands. They wanted to find Qianlai. Alas, Qianlai was nowhere to be found after the incident. Gu Tuo and Qi Yan ultimately gave up. When Qianlai appeared again with 14 evil dragons, he astounded Qing Luo. "Yao Tian, you dare to return to the ruined lands?" Qing Luo snarled. "Why not?" Qianlai motioned to Gilbert. "I want this one alive." "Leave him alive," Gilbert ordered. An evil dragon covered densely in scales shook his head, and a corrosive dragon breath carrying spilled like a waterfall onto Qing Luo. Qing Luo's copper armor started to dissolve after coming into contact with the acid. Even the spirit energy was being corroded. Many holes appeared on Qing Luo's body as the liquid welled up. "You dare to attack me!" Qing Luo shouted. The claw of the evil dragon slammed down and pinned Qing Luo to the ground. The other evil dragons continued to move around Seven-Eye Island to tear and eat the remaining dragonmen. An hour later, the dragonmen and lizards on Seven-Eye Island were no more. Those people became food in the stomachs of the 14 evil dragons. Qianlai came to the wooden towers where Lapu had been before. This place had clearly been searched and robbed after Lapu left. Many places were a mess. The valuable items probably have been taken away by the dragonmen and the lizardmen. "How strong are you compared to martial practitioners? 1 level soul altar? 2 level, 3 level? Qianlai suddenly asked. The evil dragon Gilbert was slightly tired after a long 10-day journey. He lazily lay on the ground, his eyes half closed. However, his voice was still loud. "About the same as a 2-level soul altar human expert. Oh, I will get stronger with time. Soon, I will be able to fight a 3-level soul altar." "Not bad. That is enough." Qianlai's worries were eased. Gu Tuo of the dragonmen and Qi Yan of the lizard race possessed strength equivalent to human 1-level soul altar experts. Even the two of them together might not be able to threaten Gilbert. Also, there were 13 other rank 7 evil dragons. The strength of this evil dragon group couldn't compare to the 9 great silver forces. In places like the Heavenly Silent Continent and the Heavenly Slaughter Continent, they could not be considered a major faction. But in the ruined lands, these evil dragons were strong enough. If evil dragons are active for a long time near the Land of Chaos, you will attract the pursuit of the silver rank forces sooner or later. Only here might you escape the pursuit of humans and be able to live a relatively peaceful life. Qianlai said as he rubbed his chin. He had thought hard and deeply about taking these evil dragons to the ruined lands. The ruined lands were full of demons and all kinds of other races. Most of the beings there were disliked by the 9 silver rank forces. However, the 9 factions knew of the ruined lands, but rarely came to cleanse it. This meant that there was a reason for this place to exist. The ruined lands had many rare and strange spirit materials, sold all kinds of forbidden items, many evil secret arts and sacrificial items. Even the 9 forces that considered themselves as orthodox had people who secretly cultivated evil arts or had close relations with other races. They either needed the materials of the ruined lands for themselves, or they would purchase the items that the other races they worked with through the ruined lands had manufactured. The ruined lands' existence was needed. The martial practitioners of the 9 silver rank forces wouldn't usually come to the ruined lands. Even if they came, they would change their appearances and not easily expose themselves. As a result, they could not act freely. In the ruined lands, this group of evil dragons only had to face the local demons and evils, as well as foreign races that cultivated evil arts. "Let's stay here for a bit," Xianxia said. The 14 dragons, led by Gilbert, made 7-Eye Island their home. The 14 dragons spread out and chose new places to rest. Some evil dragons liked bogs, so they found themselves a bog. Some liked seawater, so they built a nest by the sea. Some evil dragons liked shade, so they built a cavern by the mountains. Xianxia stayed where Gilbert was. He took out pieces of dried meat and filled his stomach. After recovering his physical energy, he started to cultivate. He propped up the 8 thunderblits with slabs and sat in the middle. He used lightning power to form a new spirit diagram. In a short amount of time, an extremely complex and large spirit diagram drawn with lightning formed in the middle of the thunderblits with slabs. Standing in the middle of the enormous spiderweb-like spirit diagram, Xianxia's eyes turned bright as he looked at the 8 slabs of thunderblitz wood. He couldn't help but reminisce. At Herb Mountain, he used the 8 rock pillars inside the cavern to attract thunder through metallic threads connecting the pillars. He weakened the lightning power to slowly refine his body and cultivate heavenly thunder eradication. Now, these 8 slabs of thunderblitz wood and the spirit diagram formed from lightning were extremely similar to the unique formation inside Herb Mountain. In the night, the moonlight was pure, and the wind was gentle. This was not the time that lightning and thunder should occur. He suddenly channeled heavenly thunder eradication. He focused and used his mental consciousness to guide the lightning in the clouds and attempt to have the lightning fall. Boom, boom, boom. Thunder booms resounded. Dozens of thick bolts of lightning shot down from the clouds. A sudden attractive force came from the enormous lightning diagram in the middle of the thunderblitz wood formation. The lightning spirit diagram suddenly changed. An enormous lightning whirlpool formed in the middle, looking like an abyss which could endlessly devour the lightning in the sky. Crack, crack. The bolts of lightning fell from the sky and landed in the lightning whirlpool. Threads of electricity became even more wild and violent after Thunderblitz formation's amplification. The lightning in the whirlpool became even stronger and berserk. Sitting in the center of the whirlpool was Xianxia. The currents of lightning coming from the sky were guided into his body through the lightning whirlpool. The lightning whirlpool consisted of spirit storage, spirit gathering, amplification, materialization, and other wondrous ancient spirit diagrams. At the center, Xianxia became the source of the spirit storage ancient diagram and used his body to absorb lightning. In just a span of 10 breaths, the natal palaces in his spirit sea which were made from thunder were overflowing with power. More thunder and lightning power continued to surge in. Pew, pew, pew. He became a person made out of lightning. Lightning swirled around him, and crackling sounded in his bones, meridians, and blood vessels. His organs, limbs, blood vessels, bones, mind, and acupoints were undergoing refinement by thunder while being cleansed by lightning. The pain which he hadn't felt for a long time attacked his body once again and caused him to roar out loud. Near the end, his soul was slightly unable to tolerate the lightning amplified by the thunderblitz with slabs and the spirit diagram. He had to enter the state of thoughtless tranquility. His soul floated, letting go of his senses. He silently endured the cleansing of the thunder and lightning. At his side, the evil dragon Gilbert lay on the ground as though he was resting. After the first sound of thunder, his eyes opened a little as he started observing Xianxia's actions. When the bolts of lightning from the depths of the clouds were drawn into the thunder spirit diagram at the center of the thunderblitz with slabs, his eyes opened even wider. When the lightning spirit diagram suddenly changed into a lightning whirlpool that furiously sucked in the thunder and lightning from the sky, his eyes were wide as the thunderblitz with slabs and spirit diagrams amplified the powers of heavenly lightning. When Qianlai came to the center of the lightning whirlpool and used his body to absorb the lightning from the sky, the evil dragon's large eyes almost popped out of his head. He was deeply astounded. As expected of one with the insane bloodline of the god race, his blood may not be pure, but this mad personality is still the same. Gilbert's eyes showed the light of reverence. The madness of the god race was famed in the world. This race who could pay any price to get stronger never had any weak members. All members of the god race were born fighters. There were no exceptions. Even the women and infants were full of madness. The rumors said that before the god race descended to spirit realm, they fought with the ancient races in the outer space. As long as their race existed, they fought and invaded other worlds. After they came into spirit realm, they immediately started wars against all existing races in spirit realm, ultimately conquering it and becoming its rulers. After conquering spirit realm, they didn't stop. They used spirit realm as a leverage point and used the space passageways connected to the auxiliary worlds. They started wars against the auxiliary worlds, secret realms, giant dragons, ancient beasts, and nether races. This was a mad race to whom the concepts of fatigue, rest, and peace were foreign. Gazing at Qianlai at the center of the lightning whirlpool, Gilbert suddenly gasped in surprise. His green eyes locked onto Qianlai's body. He felt a strange bloodline ripple. Arg! In the state of thoughtless tranquility, Qianlai was suddenly and forcefully pulled out of the soul-suppressing orb by an unknown force. He immediately howled. He found that the small threads of lightning and the wild thunder energy gradually entered his blood as they refined his sinews, organs, and bones. The thunder and lightning finally started to refine his blood. His blood boiled like lava and released astounding heat. Wisps of flame and bright red divine characters rose out of the lava-like blood and burned fiercely. The vault imprinted in his blood was torn open by the thunder and lightning. His soul was immediately pulled in. The invisible jets of air looked chaotic and blurry. They seemed to bear the same chaotic color when the world was first created. The crystal-like ice bubbles looked like stars or diamonds. Some were as big as mountains and seas, while others looked as small as light particles. They floated weightlessly in this chaotic, blurry space. Vague bright lines glowed inside these translucent ice bubbles. He could see many tiny, sparkling divine characters that looked like they contained the records of many secrets and arts. The outline of a soul slowly became clear beside a small light dot. The soul twisted and turned until it finally took the form of Qianlai's soul. Qianlai stared blankly at this unknown land. The last thing he remembered was him tempering his body with heavenly thunder eradication. He had used the 8 thunderblitz with slabs to create a gigantic lightning spirit diagram and temper his body repeatedly with its thunder and lightning. When his bloodline boiled and unleashed a powerful heat that felt like molten lava, and when his soul consciousness entered deep into his own bloodline, he felt as if he had passed through a long and deep tunnel. And so he found himself here. He had no idea where this place was. There were many ice bubbles beside his soul. These ice bubbles were only as big as balls. When he attempted to look at his surroundings with his soul consciousness, he realized that there were probably millions and millions of bubbles further away from him. They stretched endless towards the horizon. The delusion that he was stranded in an infinite sea of stars sprung to his mind. He suddenly felt incredibly lonely and helpless. What is this place? What are these translucent bubbles? While thinking, he tried to touch the bubble closest to him. Miraculously, his soul actually slipped into the ice bubble instantly. In an instant, innumerable tiny lights and divine characters inside the ice bubble rushed into his soul like fireflies. Many scenes and many stretches of divine texts containing memories regarding the Heaven Ghoul race, Earth Ghoul race, and Blue Ghoul race, records regarding all of the 3 Ghoul races experts, the 3 Ghoul races flow of power, as well as the knowledge regarding their racial talents, all surged into his soul. He had the terrifying feeling that his brain was about to explode, and his soul was about to crumble. Past memories of Butto, Andrew, Bergson, Matthew, the living, the dead, or the escaped all fleeted through his mind. He passively accepted all of the information. An unknown amount of time later, his soul finally walked out of the ice bubble. He discovered that the light inside the bubble was changing back to normal. It seemed to be waiting for the next soul to receive all of its information. Qianlai's soul now possessed the sea of information regarding the three ghoul races after he walked out of the bubble. He now knew that the ghoul races once had a lot of Void Realm experts during the war against the Heaven Fighting race. He even knew their names, their spirit arts, and the things they said before they perished. He learned that the Heaven Ghoul race was naturally sensitive to the power of space, and that they could cultivate and grow stronger in places where space was chaotic and distorted. He also learned that the Earth Ghoul race could easily slip into the underground and the land of darkness they spent 30,000 years in before returning to Spirit Realm. The fact that the Blue Ghoul race possessed a powerful physique and near demonic strength, but was lacking in soul perception, didn't escape him either. He had never known the three ghoul races so deeply until this moment. The vast amount of knowledge and memories regarding the three ghoul races inside that ice bubble had been imprinted directly into the depths of his mind. It made him know everything about these races. He started recalling the memories of the three ghoul races inside his mind. Another long while later, again he tried to slip into another nearby ice bubble, and again he met next to no resistance. In an instant, the divine characters and bright lines surged into his soul like a sea of stars. The memories regarding the evil dragon race flooded into his brain like a river and became a part of his memories instantly. The evil dragon's temperament, the details of their past campaigns, the most powerful named evil dragons, their unique offensive techniques, things that one should pay attention when dealing with the evil dragons, the most valuable parts on an evil dragon and their secrets became imprinted deep inside his mind once more. Just like that, he gained an unbelievable amount of understanding regarding the evil dragon race. He slowly digested the information, but the clear imprint of his soul was starting to blur. He started to feel tired as an incredible wave of fatigue washed over him. He felt like he could fall asleep immediately. He hastily made his way to the third closest bubble. The divine characters rushed into him once more. This time, the information inside the bubble had nothing to do with the three ghoul races or evil dragons. Instead, it contained the profound art unique to the Blaze family called the Ring of the Burning Sun. It was a technique that required Blaze family bloodline to execute. The cultivation process of Ring of the Burning Sun, the execution process, the notable points of the technique, and all sorts of other details were imprinted into his mind and turned into a part of his soul. But before he could learn more about the Ring of the Burning Sun, the sense of fatigue suddenly overwhelmed his senses. He fell asleep as a result. After sleeping for what felt like an entire century, he opened his eyes and awakened slowly. He felt a little dazed as he looked at his surroundings. He wasn't quite able to distinguish what was real and what wasn't. He discovered that he was lying at the center of the Thunderblitzwood formation, and that the lightning whirlpool had long since exhausted its strength and vanished from existence. No more lightning fell from the sky. Beside him, there were three evil dragons staring with green eyes, protecting him. He slowly regained his senses as he asked carelessly, "Where's Gilbert? My lord is currently outside, teaching those two fellows named Gutua and Chi Yen a lesson." An evil dragon let out a lazy, murky breath and added, "This is the fourth time he's done so already." The fourth time. Qianlai looked astonished. "You've been asleep for 3 months." The evil dragon answered slowly. 3 months? Qianlai exclaimed. "More specifically, you've been asleep for 3 months and 21 days. It's not really that long. We normally take longer naps than that," the evil dragon said. "How could this be? Why did this happen?" Qianlai muttered in a low tone. When he recalled the state he was in while he was slumbering, he discovered that a lot of memories had suddenly appeared in his mind. It was the memories regarding the three ghoul races, the evil dragons, and the secret art Ring of the Burning Sun. He actually managed to retain everything he learned inside his dream. An amazing gleam burst out of his eyes all of a sudden. My lord says that you've gone to the Chaos Blood Realm, belonging to your god race. He says that you'll probably gain something from it. The evil dragon interjected. The Chaos Blood Realm? Qianlai looked very confused. Only those of true ancient races will possess a Chaos Blood Realm that is unique to their own race. To make a comparison, the Chaos Blood Realm is similar to the human race's scripture tower. The records of an ancient expert's glorious past and their race's eternal inheritances are all recorded inside a Chaos Blood Realm. You may find the knowledge and understanding of power, and even the life experiences of the greatest practitioner to have ever lived in your race. An ancient race's bloodline is the key to opening a Chaos Blood Realm. If an ancient race descendant's bloodline is sufficiently pure, they will have a chance to enter their race's Chaos Blood Realm when their realm, strength, and bloodline are sufficient. They would be able to gain a vast amount of knowledge from their race's bloodline vault. This knowledge may relate to the method to temper one's physique, the way to activate the secrets of a bloodline, the secret tales of certain enemies, or the principles regarding the exploration of the soul. The evil dragon explained what it knew about the Chaos Blood Realm leisurely and a little lazily. Do the evil dragons have their own Chaos Blood Realm? Have you gone inside too? Qianlai exclaimed in surprise. Of course we do. The light of pride lit up in the evil dragon's eyes. The evil dragon race, the giant dragon race, the demon dragon race, the bone dragon race, and so on all share the same Chaos Blood Realm. The dragon race's Chaos Blood Realm records the entire glorious history of the great dragon races that ever existed and all kinds of unique cultivation arts. However, depression suddenly entered its eyes. Only those who possess true names may, by chance, enter the dragon race's Chaos Blood Realm and accept their baptism. Otherwise, they cannot obtain the dragon race's unique secret inheritances. This particular evil dragon was only at rank 7, stuck for some time now. Therefore, it was currently impossible for this evil dragon to enter the Chaos Blood Realm. Has Gilbert entered the Chaos Blood Realm before? Qianlai asked again. My lord was asleep for far too long, so he does not yet have the opportunity to get in. The evil dragon answered coweringly. Where is this Chaos Blood Realm? Qianlai asked in amazement. It is said that a Chaos Blood Realm exists deep within the world's whirlpool of chaos origin. It is a place where only souls can enter. The Chaos Blood Realm records the true secrets of a power ancient race's bloodline, and every race that possesses a Chaos Blood Realm is truly powerful. For example, the Heaven Ghoul race, Earth Ghoul race, Blue Ghoul race do not have a Chaos Blood Realm of their own. This also means that they aren't ancient enough to have a long racial history. The evil dragon explained proudly. Long racial history? Qianlai grew more and more amazed. Some races were born not long after chaos first bloomed, and only the races who were born at that time possess their own Chaos Blood Realms. The races that come after that, such as the 3 ghoul races, the human race, that shitty dragonman race, lizard race, merfolk race, aqua dragonman race, and all the other random races that were created later on fall under that category. Therefore, they do not have an ancient history and a Chaos Blood Realm of their own. The evil dragon shook its head proudly. So you're saying that you possess an ancient and noble bloodline too? Of course. That's great. Qianlai broke into a laugh and pondered for a moment. Then he asked again, So, Gilbert managed to beat back that Gutua and Qian a couple of times already? That's right. Lord Gilbert is stronger than even both of them combined. The evil dragon snorted coldly. Suddenly, it recalled something and asked, Speaking of which, there is a guy named Forefather Darkwind who visited a few times but didn't intrude by force. He says that he wishes to meet you. Forefather Darkwind, is it? Qianlai nodded. I got it. Now, take me up there so I can watch Gilbert's battle against Qian and Gutua. He leaped up to the evil dragon's back while saying this. After he moved, he suddenly realized that his spirit energy had increased to nearly 5 times its former amount. He had appeared above the evil dragon's back almost instantly. When he narrowed his eyes and probed around his spirit sea and true soul carefully, he noticed that even his soul lake had expanded by 3 times or so. The middle stage of the fulfillment realm. He immediately understood the reason behind the transformation. A strange smile appeared on Qin Lai's face. This breakthrough came a little out of nowhere to him. After all he did was to take a nap that lasted for more than 3 months. After he woke up, not only had he broken through to the middle stage of the fulfillment realm, gaining a bigger spirit sea, soul lake, and a greater amount of spirit energy as a result, he even learned many secrets of the 3 ghoul races and the evil dragons. On top of that, he learned a Blaze family spirit art technique called Ring of the Burning Sun. It was also unimaginable. "Should we head out now?" the evil dragon beneath him asked. "Let's go." Qin Lai nodded. The 3 evil dragons that had stayed behind to protect him rose into the air in unison while letting out a roar. They appeared outside Seven Eye Island in the blink of an eye. Balls of green flames hung in the sky like green lanterns as they burned with an aura that seemed capable of corroding everything. Gilbert was right at the center of those green fireballs. Led by Gu Tuo of the Dragonman race and Qi Yen of the Lizard race, subordinates of the duo were surrounding, attacking and hooting loudly at Gilbert. "Foolish ants!" Gilbert roared angrily and tore at their bodies with his claws, causing rains of flesh and blood to fall from the sky. Plenty of dragonmen and lizardmen were sliced into chunks of flesh that fell to the sea. At the bottom, 6 obviously excited evil dragons opened their mouths and swallowed the chunks of flesh into their stomachs. Glowing like 2 light bulbs, Gu Tuo and Qi Yen were roaring and attacking Gilbert continuously. Qi Yen had a lizard tail behind his back, and every time it swayed from side to side it caused the air to explode. He had summoned a shadow of a giant lizard with his strength and seemingly fused with it. He was trying to tie Gilbert down. Gu Tuo let out a loud, dragon-like roar as a light beam filled with great divine aura exited his glabella. The light beam seemed to have an incredible amount of penetrative power. 9 heavens soaring dragon. Gu Tuo shook his head back and forth, and the light beam in his eyes took on the shape of a dragon and meandered towards Gilbert's pupils. "You fools who do not even possess any bloodline powers dare raise your hand against me?" Gilbert laughed in a ridiculing manner before extending his vast wings. They were so huge that they nearly covered the sun itself. Golden body of dragon scales. Rays of golden light were set loose from the densely packed scale armor of Gilbert's body. They looked brilliant and eye-catching. Gilbert suddenly looked like a golden dragon that was made out of liquid gold. Suddenly, he gave off a boundless, mighty, honorable, and sacred feeling. Gu Tuo and Qi Yan's combined attacks actually failed to do anything to its golden dragon scales. Gilbert swiped its claws at the air around him. Many dragonmen and lizardmen perished under his attacks yet again. Even Gu Tuo and Qi Yan had suffered from bone-deep wounds after the golden claws had disappeared. "We will be back, you evil dragon!" Gu Tuo yelled in astonishment before running away from the place, afraid to stay even a second longer. Qi Yan also ran away with his lizardmen behind him. That's it. Qin Lai wasn't in time to witness the bloody battle that ended in Gilbert's victory. He only saw some dragonmen and lizardmen corpses falling to the sea. Food-carrying idiots, those 2. Gilbert snorted and stuffed a few lizardmen and dragonmen corpses into its own mouth. "You finally woke up, Emmett." As he stared at the running dragonmen and lizardmen, Qin Lai asked, "Why didn't you just attack their islands? There are some dangerous fellows entrenched at the sea bottom near that Gu Tuo and Qi Yan's territories." Gilbert smacked his lips. "I can kill them, but I will surely suffer some injuries in the process. It is very possible that those fellows hidden deep within the ruined lands may decide to attack me and earn themselves some dragon flesh or dragon blood while I'm hurt." "Oh, I see. So even you have things to watch out for," Qin Lai said. "We are the only group of evil dragons that exist right now, and I am literally the only named evil dragon left in this world. Times have changed, and we can no longer act as wantonly as we did in the past. We can only obey certain rules and learn how to protect ourselves," Gilbert lamented. "That's not true. Don't you know that there are a couple more evil dragons in Spirit Realm?" Qin Lai smiled. The light of astonishment appeared in Gilbert's green eyes. I know of their existence, but I don't know where they are right now. I know that they have separated their souls from their bodies and fell into suspended animation just like us. We did it in order to conceal our unique draconic aura and hide from the humans and other powerful races. But I don't know that where these brethren of mine are hiding. I do. Xianxia smiled. You must have gotten a lot of memories regarding us from the Chaos Blood Realm, Gilbert said in pleasant surprise. That's right. Back then, the god race left Spirit Realm with many of your race's experts. However, the outer space is dangerous and infinitely deadly, and those who are weak are unable to live in this environment. That was why some of you were left behind in Spirit Realm. The god race and your seniors hadn't abandoned you on purpose. They chose a lot of special places for your people to hide, and the underground of the Absolute Graveyard is one of them. Also, there are another 2 special places in the Land of Chaos where your people are probably slumbering in, Xianxia declared seriously. Where are they? Gilbert grew excited. The other evil dragons were also roaring spiritedly. Finding them is easy, but gathering their souls and waking them up from their slumber won't be so simple. Xianxia frowned. That is true. The light in Gilbert's eyes dimmed. The reason we were able to awaken ourselves is because those heaven ghouls slaughtered every living being there was on Prism Continent. A long time ago, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult helped build those evil formations of awakening in the underground of Absolute Graveyard according to the secret arts we left behind for them. These evil formations were able to draw in the soul fragments of those who died on Prism Continent and turn them into energy, aiding us in regathering our souls. If the living beings on Prism Continent weren't all slaughtered so quickly by the Heaven Ghoul race, if there weren't so many dead souls in this place, my people wouldn't have awakened so quickly. I believe that the rest of my people slumbering in other secret sites also need a great number of souls as sacrifice to awaken. Gilbert knew very well that it wasn't easy for his people to awaken from their slumber. There is a place that may urge your people into awakening once the time is right, Xianxia said with an odd look on his face. Where is this place? Gilbert hastily asked. It is the Shadow Earth Palace in the Heavenly Calamity Continent. It is said that the Shadow Earth Palace exists underneath Blue Flame City. In the past, Blue Flame City was a powerful kingdom that used to bury the deceased of the royal family inside the Shadow Earth Palace. Legend says that the royal family of that ancient kingdom possessed the blood of true dragons, and from what I learned about the evil dragons through the Chaos Blood Realm, I know for sure that there is another small group of evil dragons hiding beneath the Shadow Earth Palace. I believe that this lost kingdom once awakened one of your clansmen under the Shadow Earth Palace. That evil dragon had even mated with one of the humans, thus giving birth to a line of descendants who possessed the so-called blood of true dragons. Unfortunately, that ancient kingdom was destroyed not long after the emergence of Blood Fiend sect. Thankfully, they probably kept the secret of Shadow Earth Palace under wraps and revealed it to no one but their own people. Naturally, that ancient kingdom had long since disappeared, so long that even Blood Fiend sect had left the Heavenly Calamity Continent. A new city had been built atop Shadow Earth Palace, and its name is Blue Flame City. It belongs to the 3 great families. Right now, the situation on the Heavenly Calamity Continent is dangerous, and the 3 great families are warring constantly against the Earth Ghoul race. A lot of human practitioners died during the war, which I believe will aid your people in their awakening. Xianxia finished his explanation. Perhaps we should head to the Heavenly Calamity Continent soon, Gilbert cried. No, the time isn't right just yet. Xianxia shook his head. First, we don't know if the battle between the Earth Ghoul race and the 3 great families have ended yet. Second, there are currently Black Voodoo cult soul altar experts on the Heavenly Calamity Continent, not to mention that the 3 great families themselves have soul altar experts as well. Most importantly, the 3 great families and Black Voodoo cult are my sworn enemies. Are you saying that we're not a match for them? Gilbert snorted. Not now, at least. Even if the evil dragons under Earth Shadow Palace did awaken, at best there would be 2 named evil dragons. So we must wait, Xianxia advised. When will be a good time to head there then? Gilbert asked. I've slept for more than 3 months, and I'm not sure what is going on with the world too. Allow me some time to learn this before I give you an answer. Qianlai pondered for a moment before instructing the evil dragon beneath him. Send me to the island where Forefather Dark Wind is. I'll come with you, Gilbert said. No problem. Dark Wind Island was situated very deep into the ruined lands, and was more than 5 times bigger than Seven Eye Island. Dark Wind Island was famous throughout the ruined lands, and very few people dared behave atrociously there. This was because Forefather Dark Wind was one of the most famous evil spirits that existed in the ruined lands. 7 evil dragons led by Gilbert left Seven Eye Island and carried Qianlai deeper into the ruined lands. Along the way, there were plenty of evil spirits and foreign races who were staring at the evil dragons with astonishment and secretly gathering information about them. That Gu Tuo and Qi Yen just escaped Seven Eye Island. It would appear that they were hurt again. This is the 4th time those guys failed to achieve anything on Seven Eye Island. It would appear that the evil dragons entrenched on Seven Eye Island are pretty powerful. But of course, the evil dragons were one of the god race's sharpest claws at the time. How can they not be powerful? The evil spirits and foreign races discussed the evil dragons amongst themselves. On their way to Dark Wind Island, Gilbert flew right through the island's airspace. He cared nothing for the fact that these islands were swarming with evil spirits and foreign races with their respective bosses. These island masters were only at the late stage of the Nirvana realm, just like La Pu in the past. Naturally, their strength were nothing in Gilbert's eyes. That was why he dared to ignore their rules. These island masters could only swear with bowed heads as they watched the evil dragons fly over their islands. They didn't dare stop them and declare their right over their territory. This was because their strengths were leagues apart from each other. However, when Gilbert passed through those islands and ventured deep into the ruined lands, he suddenly started controlling himself. When they flew past the islands closest to Dark Wind Island, Gilbert would automatically swerve out of the way and avoid flying right across those islands. The master of this island is called the White-Bone Demon Monarch. He is more dangerous than even Gu Tuo and Qi Yen combined. The island at the front is called Soul Summoning Island. It is the Soul Summoning Ghost Mother's territory, and that old woman isn't a small fry either. The island to our right is Evil Infant Island. It is the territory of the evil infant boy, and his temper is pretty bad. We should fly around his island too. Gilbert was obviously acting a lot more cautiously after he reached the depths of the ruined lands. He would explain about the islands and their masters to Qianlai every time they circumvented them. Qianlai smiled wryly in response. The White-Bone Demon Monarch, Soul-Summoning Ghost Mother, and Evil Infant Boy were people who caused headaches for other people, just like Forefather Darkwind. They were bosses who lived in the ruined lands for many years and were feared by everyone. Even a rank 8 evil dragon like Gilbert had to avoid flying over their islands, not to offend them. It showed just how terrifying they really were. Sometimes, even Qianlai thought that the evil spirits and the foreign races who lived in the ruined lands could be a match for the 9 great silver rank forces if they weren't so busy killing each other. Is it Yao Tian? Forefather Darkwind's subordinate. Lu Heng flew up from Dark Wind Island while his sleeves was bubbling with bluish-green flames. He was full of smiles. Qianlai and the evil dragons led by Gilbert had to reach Dark Wind Island. Haha! I've come to visit Senior Dark Wind. Qianlai's entered Lu Heng's view from behind Gilbert's neck. The forefather has been waiting for you. Please, come inside, Lu Heng said loudly. Whoosh! Fierce astral wind spread towards the surroundings above the island right after Lu Heng said this. Just wait for me outside the island. Qianlai got up a crystalline war chariot and said to Gilbert, Forefather Darkwind and I know each other. He won't try to kill me, so you may relax. All right. Gilbert allowed him to go in alone. And so, the evil dragons descended from the sky and waited for Qianlai's return at a spot next to the island. The reason they accompanied Qianlai was because they were afraid that Gu Tuo and Qi Yen would try to intercept and kill him midway. They were interested in Qianlai and Forefather Darkwind's conversation, nor wanted to know about the details. Under Lu Heng's guidance, Qianlai flew his crystalline war chariot into Dark Wind Island. The moment he entered Dark Wind Island, he immediately sensed rich world energy washing him over. Qin Lai noticed that the island was planted with many rare ancient trees in a 9-square pattern. The ancient trees were at least 100 meters tall, and their leaves and branches were swaying under the wind. They seemed capable of gathering world spirit energy. Many wooden towers built from immortal wood could be found scattered in a specific pattern on the island too. The walls of these wooden towers were inscribed with pictures of mountains, rivers, ancient trees, and all kinds of spirit beasts. These complex and exquisite patterns had obviously been made with specific purpose in mind. The forefather is right there. Lu Heng pointed to the front. At the top of a 7-level wooden palace that was dozens of meters tall, a skinny old man could be seen standing as straight as a bamboo pole near the window. It was forefather Dark Wind. Upon noticing Qin Lai, he let out a somewhat eerie chuckle. Hee, long time no see. How are you doing, my young friend? Forefather Dark Wind's chuckle was objectively unpleasant, but to Qin Lai it sounded amiable and dear. He still remembered the day Forefather Dark Wind had interjected at a critical moment and held down both Gu Tuo and Qi Yen forcefully at Frost Island. If he hadn't done so, La Pu and Qin Lai wouldn't have been able to leave the ruined lands alive. He owed Forefather Dark Wind a great favor. Well met, Forefather. Qin Lai jumped off the crystalline war chariot and gave him a bow. He said sincerely, "A year ago, La Pu and I would have died if not for your help, Forefather. It was but a small matter." Dark Wind waved and motioned for Qin Lai to sit down. Qin Lai sat down in a relaxed manner. "Should I call you Yao Tian or Qin Lai?" Dark Wind asked with the hint of a smile poking out of his face. Qin Lai smiled. "Whichever you prefer, Senior." It had been 4 months since he left Prism Continent. Naturally, those who were paying attention to the bigger picture of the Land of Chaos had their own ways of acquiring the news they wanted. The fact that he had summoned 14 evil dragons from the Absolute In graveyard at Prism Continent was not a secret to those resourceful people. Right now, the evil dragons had appeared in the ruined lands, and Yao Tian was the only person living next to them. It was only natural for Dark Wind to guess his identity. "You must think that I've learned about your identity only recently, don't you?" Dark Wind saw through his thoughts with a smile before shaking his head. "That is not true. I already knew who you are way back at Frost Island. Why else would I have done so much to save you back then?" "Oh!" This time Qin Lai was really surprised. "You already knew who I am back at Frost Island? Then why have you helped me? Please forgive me for being slow and not knowing the answer. There are very few people who know about my origin." Dark Wind's face turned gloomy as he quietly pulled out a jade token from his shirt. When Qin Lai paid close attention to the token, he was secretly surprised to find the emblem of Heavenly Sword Mountain etched on it. Yan Bai, Yan Dong and I had participated in the trial of Heavenly Sword Mountain and became its disciples in the same year. You can say that Wang Ens and the rest are my senior brothers and sisters as well, Dark Wind said in reminiscence. His surrounding subordinates had left his side a long while ago. They left so that Forefather could chat privately with Qin Lai by the window. "Ah, so Senior belongs to Heavenly Sword Mountain," Qin Lai said respectfully. "I haven't been one of them for a long time already." Dark Wind shook his head. "It was a terrible joke. Back then, we took our trials and went to Heavenly Sword Mountain to pick a flying sword together. I discovered that a flying sword I found contained an evil secret art that I couldn't resist cultivating. Since then, I succumbed more and more into the evil art and experienced a fiendish rebound several times. While my mind was addled, I killed some of my seniors and juniors. It didn't take long before the Heavenly Sword Mountain disciple with a bright future ahead of him was treated like an evil demon. Heavenly Sword Mountain laid down an order to kill me. I had no choice but to run away and hide my identity. I needed greater strength in order to survive, so I worked even harder to cultivate that evil secret art. Heavenly Sword Mountain lost a very talented martial practitioner. 100 years later, however, the ruined lands gained a new evil spirit who had given himself a new name, Dark Wind. Dark Wind sighed deeply. Qin Lai didn't say anything. He simply listened quietly and carefully to everything Dark Wind said. "I know who you are because of Li Mu. When you left the Setting Sun Islands and headed towards the Terminator sect, Li Mu once told me to take care of you on his behalf if I happened to run into you in the ruined lands. Dark Wind looked up. It's Uncle Li again, Qin Lai exclaimed in astonishment. As the sixth heavenly sword of Heavenly Sword Mountain, Li Mu's greatest responsibility was to deal with the sect's traitors. I was once a target he was tasked to eliminate. Dark Wind smiled oddly as he said this. I desperately ran from place to place in order to avoid his pursuit, but he still found me in the end. I thought he would kill me, but when he figured out the entire situation and confirmed that I had killed my fellow sect members while my mind was muddled, when he learned that I haven't killed another sect member despite being pursued by Heavenly Sword Mountain for many years, he actually decided to let me live. Had he insisted on killing me back then, there was no way I could have resisted him. Li Mu is the strangest man in Heavenly Sword Mountain. I must admit that I owe him a great favor. Dark Wind told him everything. So that's how it is. Qin Lai finally understood the ins and outs of the entire situation. I've tried to send some of my people to visit you several times at Seven Eye Island. Dark Wind said. I was cultivating in seclusion, so I didn't know this until this morning. I came immediately after I woke up. Qin Lai explained. Li Mu asked me to pass on a message and inform you that your Setting Sun Islands are in trouble. He said that you should seek out Evil Infant Boy of Evil Infant Island to build a teleportation formation that connects from Seven Eye Island to the Setting Sun Islands. Dark Wind continued. He wants me to build a teleportation formation that connects to the Setting Sun Islands? But what is it for? Setting Sun Islands do not have a teleportation formation of their own, and even Blood Fiend sect only possesses one teleportation formation that connects to the ultimate blood ground. That particular teleportation formation is limited, it can only be connected to one place. Qin Lai frowned deeply. Flaming Sun Island does have a smaller teleportation formation that can teleport a person right now. Of course, that teleportation formation cannot sustain cross-continent teleportation. Dark Wind said. It does? How did it come to be? Qin Lai exclaimed. I have no idea. Dark Wind shook his head. Does Evil Infant Boy really know how to construct a teleportation formation? Qin Lai asked again. He does. Dark Wind looked certain when he said this. Qin Lai's amazement was growing by the second. It was very difficult to construct a teleportation formation. It took a formation master who was well-versed in the power of space to draw the lines of space with the help of spirit materials in a unique natural environment. Xianxia was completely focused on battle, so even if he was well-versed in the power of space, he couldn't construct a teleportation formation. It took someone like Luohan who both understood the power of space and wielded the knowledge of artifact forging to set it up. The number of people in the entire land of chaos who could construct teleportation formations could be counted on two hands. Experts of this caliber were treated like ultimate treasures even by the 9 great silver rank forces. It was nearly impossible that a sect would ever allow a person like this to leave. He never thought that the Evil Infant Boy of the ruined lands would be a person of such caliber. Evil Infant Boy used to be Luohan's junior brother. But because he is a dwarf, he was discriminated against since a young age until his mind gradually became twisted. When he returned to the land of chaos after his study was complete, he committed many shocking acts that eventually caused Celestial Artifact Sect to kick him out of their sect. Dark Wind turned serious. But although Evil Infant Boy has a problematic personality, his ability to construct teleportation formations is only a step or two behind Luohan. In fact, it is rumored that he would probably be the best Celestial Artifact Sect artificer in constructing teleportation formations if he wasn't kicked out from his own sect. Is he really that good? Qin Lai's eyes lit up. Without a doubt. Dark Wind nodded. Have you had any dealings with him? Qin Lai's interest was growing visibly. Dealing? Dark Wind laughed dryly. We have fought each other a couple times, sure. He is an extremely independent and difficult fellow to deal with. Don't count on me to persuade him on your behalf. A moment of pause later, Dark Wind continued. I don't know why Li Mu wants you to ask for his help. In my opinion at least, I just can't see a way for you to persuade him to help you. Speaking of which, how is the land of chaos doing? Not too good, I'm afraid. How so? The outsiders at Prism Continent are relatively quiet. Perhaps Forefather Terminator had taught them such a terrible lesson that they ceased any thoughts of causing trouble. Dark Wind frowned deeply. I heard that the outsiders have slowly moved their base of operation away from Prism Continent after discovering that they were unable to punch through Terminator Sec's defense lines. The outsiders that should have been operating around that area had split into two forces, and began attacking the Heavenly Calamity Continent and the Heavenly Slaughter Continent wantonly. The three great families of the Heavenly Calamity Continent were able to stand their ground against the outsiders thanks to Black Voodoo cult's aid, but they suffered great casualties as a result. However, the situation on the Heavenly Slaughter Continent is even worse. The outsiders led by the Blue Ghoul race are currently attacking Illusory Demon Sect's territory. Illusory Demon Sect and Black Voodoo Cult are enemies to begin with, and Black Voodoo Cult had already sent out a few experts to save the Heavenly Calamity Continent. Naturally, they didn't do anything to aid Illusory Demon Sect. Illusory Demon Sect is currently embroiled in a civil war, and they seem to have offended the other 4 silver rank forces back at Prism Continent. At any rate, they're weary dealing with the outsiders right now. Dark Wind explained what was going on as of late with the world. Oh, in that case everything's still fine. Qin Lai found himself pleased by the news.